Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jacket Jockeys with Justin.
And Jen. Or
Hey,
or is it me?
I expected you to say "and me," but because I thought that was your signature line.
Maybe that's the signature line of the bad one. Or is this the signature
Yikes!
line of the bad
Yikes! Do you have a bad one, podcaster?
one? Oh, that should have been our podcast name. The bad one.
The bad, yeah,
Dang.
yeah.
Maybe next time we need to make a Yellow Jackets podcast.
Next time
Hi,
we
everybody.
Next time we make a Yellowjackets podcast, that's what it'll be called. Hi, welcome back. It's been so short, right? We were just here. Weren't we just here yesterday? Yes, we were. But we're back again
And better
because
than
we're
ever.
doing a double this weekend to catch up and and to heal old wounds, if you will.
Mm,
As we are here with season 2, episode 4, entitled "Old
old
Wounds."
wounds. We here to pour salt on old wounds, to
Oh,
reopen old wounds.
oh, yeah, that's more
I
likely,
think
of
it's more of a
course.
it's a wee opening of old
A
wounds,
wee, wee
reopening.
opening.
Yes, interesting, fascinating. So picking up on that blood honey, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like there's many meanings to old wounds in
Mm,
this episode.
yeah.
Just off the top of my head, I can think of five.
Wow. Do you want to say what they are,
No.
or okay, good, good. Just wanted to confirm. Um,
I mean, every Yellow Jackets character as an adult could be said to have old wounds.
yeah, yeah, indeed.
Literally. There's Van's old wounds.
Yeah.
There's the
What
stuff
wounds?
there's the stuff with Lisa and her mom and all that. That's like old wounds.
Hmm.
There's Lottie's old wounds.
A lot unpacking this
Specifically
episode.
wounds in that case, not like figurative wounds,
Hmm.
but like
Yeah.
literal. Literally wounds herself the way she did in the old days. So anyway, I feel there are many meanings, but it is notable that this is the least fanciful title so far. Like the first two titles were like classical tragedy references, and then we had Digestif, which is like a kind of a cheeky French like food pun about eating Jackie, presumably. So
Yeah, and then this one is just sort of a straightforward
it's like
title.
a normal episode
Um,
name. Like you could any TV show could have an episode called Old Wounds.
yeah,
You
I
know?
wonder what the next one's gonna be called.
Well,
We'll
I don't know.
find
You
out
want to
before long.
guess? Should we play a game? Guess the name
Guess.
of the next episode.
Oh God, that sounds like a horrible game that I'll be
Uh,
really bad
uh,
at.
Van Van um
Fantastic Voyage.
Fantastic Voyage. There we go. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I can't wait for that. It's,
It's gonna be a good one.
yeah, I can tell already.
Stay tuned. So, usual check-in. No postcards, no mention of the postcards. We do get through a kind of choppy little sequence. We get a sort of flashback of Jessica Roberts from season 1. That line about some of them are living off the grid, which clearly they're like foreshadowing the thing that happens at the end there.
Yeah.
But it does make me wonder what really happened. But we can talk about that when we actually get to the
I'll
season.
tell you what clearly didn't happen, which was Thaisa clearly didn't receive no answer from Jessica Roberts, find that she had not been at her house in quite some time, and call the police for a wellness check.
That is clearly not
That's
what
something that
happened.
didn't
I don't think it
happen.
doesn't even seem like he
Um,
considered doing that.
has anyone noticed that Jessica Roberts is missing?
It seems
It
no.
took them -4 days to find out that Adam Martin was
There's a third
dead.
brother.
Third brother.
That's the secret.
Yeah, he is a brother. He's just not the one we thought he was. It took 35 minutes after
She
his
gets go to the
death.
alley. Like we should have been on that plane.
What was oh that's your imitation of
That's
Allie's
my alley.
impeccable
Yeah.
New Jersey accent. I've known some people from New Jersey, and I have to say they all sound exactly like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I watched The Sopranos. Everybody sounded like that.
it's so true. Except for all of them. So yeah, there was a lot of Lottie in this
A
episode.
Lottie,
A
if you
Lottie.
will. A Lottie Lottie.
And yes, and about the postcards, I thought at a certain point we came this close. My fingers are close together. This close to maybe having something about the postcards.
I tell you when the moment when I felt like it could have happened, which is when like well it's revealed at a certain point that Ty, and I think this is something that Jessica Roberts probably put together, but that Ty has this Yellow Jackets folder with information about all of them, and that's where she has the I guess it's like a video store where Van is working. um
Yeah,
and it has a picture of that in there.
yeah.
I feel like the postcard could be in there. If she still has hers. I got confused about who had whose postcard at a certain point, because like Shauna didn't get one, and then she got one, and maybe she got Thais. I don't remember who got whose, and
Shauna got a postcard.
she took a
Oh, she
postcard.
oh she asked one of the others for their
Yeah,
postcard.
when they
Yeah,
got together, because she didn't get one originally, but she did take
right.
one of them because she had it at home at a certain point. So
I thought it might come up in that and it's only because you're always talking about it that I thought about this at all. But
it's my pet peeve.
one of them. But then when they were when Jeff gets I don't want to say sanctimonious because I feel like he's got a right to the way he's being,
Get
but
off your high horse, Jeff.
but when he's like, you killed your lover, and or you were seeing him in broad daylight or something, and
Hmm.
she's like, you were blackmailing us in
Yeah,
broad daylight.
yeah.
I thought that could be a place for a line about sending us those postcards. What
Yeah,
postcards?
yeah.
But
That's a
that
good
didn't
point. That
happen.
definitely could have come up at that
Um,
point. They did talk about the blackmail multiple times. Um, I also feel like Misty is probably the most likely character to bring it up, since she's the one who's like obsessed with like evidence and tracking down what happened. And does she consider the case closed of the postcards? Like, if so, she never said it out loud. Like, she thinks Adam sent the postcards. Is that really true? Like, I don't know. Like,
what's gonna happen when she finds out that Adam? I mean, she's gonna find out that it was that Adam was like entirely innocent.
I think she should find that out. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. See, if she doesn't find out, it's gonna be weird,
yeah,
especially because Walter is like on that case,
yeah,
and like the more she like befriends Walter, the less she's gonna be like shutting him down, and maybe the more she'll actually listen. And I feel like that could actually be a pathway where it could, that could come to light. you know there's there's a funny moment. I thought it was a funny moment later when Shauna's telling Callie like what happened, and at first she's telling the lie, like, yeah, he was blackmailing the Yellow Jackets, and she's like, oh, no, wait, that wasn't the truth. It was actually Jeff who was blackmailing
yeah,
Yellow Jackets, but I thought it was him.
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting thing because you don't have to wait very long to find out if she's gonna stick with a lie or
Yeah,
she
yeah,
tells her daughter the truth, but
she
like as you
does.
say, only very nearly right away.
Yeah. It's just like it's weird. Like her first instinct was to tell the lie, almost like she forgot that it was a lie.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
even though she brought it up earlier.
yeah.
But it's like her instinct is, if I'm gonna admit the murder, then I should tell the same lie I told the other Yellow Jackets, which is that like I killed him because he was the blackmailer.
But the okay, so the slight change of topic. I mean, it's sort of related, which is because since you're always talking about it, and since the show
It's a brief
seems
segment, all right. I'm not always, but I'll go ahead.
no, there's just the postcards,
Yeah,
that I kind of feel like they are gonna still tell us about the postcards, and that it's not gonna be Jeff,
yeah.
and that it's and so is it Lottie?
At this point, it
Is
feels like
it?
it shouldn't even be Lottie,
I feel
because
like it
it's
should be
like,
either Lottie or the other Thaisa.
yeah,
Because it seems like in this episode we
it
learn
could be the other Thaisa.
that there's this sort of dueling dueling ruler, spiritual
Yeah,
goddess thing.
the Antler Queen has a challenger
Yeah,
for the throne,
yeah. And
the
Blood
Antler
Honey,
Throne.
the antler throne. Yeah. And uh So if if the other Thaisa is trying to force some kind of confrontation, then the postcards
Hmm.
would be an early
Yeah,
step
yeah,
in
definitely.
pushing people onto the same path
Yeah, yeah.
who wouldn't willingly reunite with one another.
Right, right. Yeah,
And she is the one who hired Jessica Roberts to find out where they all were.
true.
And she's got the cover story of season 1, which is totally plausible and could absolutely just be enough of a truth.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah.
there could be something else.
I just feel like it's too late to tell us it's Lottie at this point. We've seen too much, and it's just going to be perfunctory. Like, because it's just like if Natalie didn't say anything by now, it's just going to be weird. Like, how, I just feel like at this point they kind of have to tell us it wasn't Lottie, and therefore I feel like you're like the bad one, Thaisa, like is a good because I have no other plausible unless it's some character we haven't met or like yeah, some character hiding something, which that I mean that would be an example of that, like that we didn't know before, like that. I feel like that's what it should be at this point. I
Yeah.
don't know if they're gonna tell us anything, if they don't just consider it like it was obviously Jeff. I mean, we resolved that,
Right.
you know.
Right.
If that's not what they want us to think, which I'm
Yeah.
just not even sure at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since they haven't said a word about it, like it just seems weird. But I don't know. They did pick up on a loose thread in this episode that I thought, was worth like addressing directly. So maybe that means that at some point they'll realize like, oh, okay, we need to just like close the book on the on the postcards because somehow we never did that, even though we seemingly gave all our answers related to it,
Yeah.
or at least seemingly we gave all our answers related to it.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be weird when, you know, the answer is like not thing A, not thing B, but a third thing that we didn't even know about.
Yeah, well, this is always the thing with mysteries that are kind of lesser mysteries is you don't know whether they're going to pay them off. And this happened on Lost, where it was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, you finally give us an answer on this, and this is what you got.
Yeah,
That could
yeah, of
happen.
course. That definitely could happen.
And it could absolutely happen that we just never hear another word about it. In which case, I'm going to say that we're supposed to understand it was Jeff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't really I don't see Jeff making those postcards, but just personality wise, I don't see that. The kind of guy who thinks that he's going to rekindle romance in his relationship by driving spontaneously to Colonial Williamsburg, I don't see that guy making those postcards.
Well, like I sort of agree, but like the counterpoint is that the text message, which definitely was him, also had the symbol in it.
Yeah, but it's the symbol's the symbol. I mean, if it wasn't Jeff, it was a yellow jacket. And they would use the symbol. The
Yeah.
symbol's necessary completely, but just the postcard, I just don't see it.
It's just if the
It's
text
the
message
best
hadn't
part.
used the symbol, then I would see it as less likely.
Yeah, we find that compelling, but that's okay. We can
No, no,
just
no. I'm not saying it makes it true. I'm just saying like I would believe it. Like it would be easier for me to say like they're definitely separate things if one of them used the symbol
yeah.
and had nothing on it, and the other one is just like a text message saying "Give me $50,000."
Yeah, well, the timing would be very coincidental as well if they weren't from the same person. What I thought you were going to say that I think is valid is that the prop department, not the character Jeff, made that postcard, and so
Well, that is
that's what
true.
I thought you were going to say.
That is true,
Uh,
definitely. But yeah, also the fact that it had like a picture of the wilderness and it said like "Wish you were
yeah.
here," like that makes it seem more like it's Lottie. But I just don't really
In
believe
my
that it's Lottie
head,
at this
the
point.
postcard looks like this Instagram artist subpar parks.
No.
This artist takes these negative reviews of national parks and state parks and puts them onto illustrations from the park. So like can't see anything, too many trees, or
Hmm.
whatever. Anyway, in my head, that's what this postcard looks like. But now I'm even questioning whether the aesthetic, but it doesn't matter. Jeff's aesthetic is not the props aesthetic that I understand how TV works. I will move on from that.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking. It's a valid point. I mean, yeah, that's basically what I would have to say if he really did it. I just think like that's the only
Yeah,
other option, but yeah, we'll see. I
we'll
I feel like
see.
there's at least there's half a chance they just drop it all together, and then if they tell us, then either it's a throwaway line that it's Jeff, or at this point, I think it's somebody other than Lottie.
Yeah,
But we'll see. Or maybe there's a throwaway line that it was Lottie, and she's like, "Why do you think I sent you those postcards?" I don't know.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
see.
Well,
We'll see.
anyway, shall we get into this
Okay.
episode?
Yeah, you ready to dive into the woods, if you will?
Yeah, well, I actually think you might have something that's pre-episode.
I do, yeah. I just wanted to bring up this thing from the previously on. They play this line that Thaisa says while she's in the hospital. She's like on the phone and she says, "Things are tense with Simone's family right now. Remember what I told you about my problem? It's getting worse." So like when we were watching this episode and it came on, I was like, I don't remember ever seeing this line. And so I did a text search through every single transcript in the show so far, even though, like, based on the context, that line is clearly from the hospital. So it was clearly filmed this season. But just to be safe, I was like, let me make sure and that line never appeared in the show before. I just think it's really funny to cut in a line and say previously on Yellowjackets, a thing that never happened.
Yeah, we've seen this in other shows where they put something in the previously on that didn't happen because it concisely communicates an idea that there's just really not another concise way of
Yeah, the way
telling.
they showed it was so stylized. They didn't have a good summary moment. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I can see, but it's just like it's just funny that they cut that, like it's a quick it doesn't seem like it was necessary to cut that, but anyway, I just think it's
Yeah,
funny to frame it as previously on Yellow Jackets rather than here's a summary of what happened on Yellow Jackets that may or may not have actually been on the show. I don't know.
yeah.
I guess that isn't very concise. Anyway, I just thought that was weird. Okay. So we open up on the woods. Van and Ty are at another tree with the symbol. Ties in like the bad one mode. Obviously, she led her there. Like that's the idea. I think. I mean, they don't tell us that, but that's seems obvious.
Yeah.
Van wakes up Ty, and she thinks that something within Ty knows that the symbols are there, and she wants to talk to Lottie about it, but Ty refuses, and so she goes back to bed. And then we see Van stays out there, and we see that she has made some kind of map of the locations of these symbols in the woods, and we will be returning to this later.
I want to say something, and it's out of order, but I'm worried I'm going to forget to
Yeah, no,
say
go
it.
for it. Go for it.
Um, the so because my thinking process was, if Ty had said yes, would um would Lottie have actually had any insight? I mean, I think it's clear that on some level she knows where these symbols are because she's literally leading
Yeah,
them, right?
yeah,
I mean, there's a question about consciousness there, I guess, but I just anyway, this in this episode we find out Lottie in the wilderness, teenage Lottie is kind of seems to be losing her path,
yes,
and she try later in the scene, which we will get to, when she goes back to that stump, which is
yep,
presumably the stump where they very nearly killed Travis.
yep.
um
And where she puts the bear heart at the end of
Bearheart.
season one and
Hmm.
does that ritual thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
So she goes back there
she
and
believes in tree
she,
stumps
yeah,
clearly because she goes to a tree stump in the present as well.
yeah, yeah. uh I love a tree stump. I'm right there with you. I mean, not with the blood magic part, but tree stumps in general,
Yeah,
they're, yes,
yeah,
full of life and magic apparently. um so she goes there later in the episode, she cuts her hand and drips blood and says, let this be enough.
yeah,
And it seems not to be.
yeah.
It's because it seems not to produce the effect that she, and we'll talk about that more. But point is, that scene, um, just now reminded me very much of the Locke, I've done everything you asked of me. Why are you doing this to
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
But
yeah.
but nothing,
Right.
the
No, no affirmation.
there's no
Even
affirmation.
though, of course, that was
It's a
false
false affirmation.
affirmation,
Yeah.
but which they
Right.
could totally do in this show. Like they're walking some lost lines in this
They
episode, and
are.
that's literally the exact thing I was gonna say about Lottie's plotline in this episode, past and present, is like I always thought earlier in the show, I always thought like, oh, she's like a Locke character, but she's like totally sure of herself, you know?
Hmm.
And this is the first episode, I feel like, I mean, there was the end of the last one that was setting this up clearly. But like this is the first one where they really show, especially the younger version, like doubting herself, not clearly like having no idea what she's doing and just like hoping something's going to happen, but like having no realizing that she doesn't really have a way to control whatever has happened, and like not even being sure if she really does have any actual powers,
Hmm.
or if it was just she just got lucky, or it's just something wrong with her brain and she's just interpreting it in some way and it really doesn't mean anything. I mean, it becomes clear in the therapy scene
Yeah.
that she has as an adult decided that that's what it was,
Yeah.
that those visions were meaningless and she just thought they meant something but they weren't real and there's no reason to pay any attention to them. That's pretty much exactly what she says
Yeah.
later.
They don't mean anything because they're not
Yeah,
real.
yeah, yeah. Which like threw for me like new light on the speech from the first episode where she's like, "No one can help you," and it's all inside you. Like it's not real. The stuff that what blah blah blah. Like she's saying like therapy boilerplate, but like I didn't know. It was weird the way they cut it from the younger version where she's like they can help you like they helped me and then no one can help you. You know, it's clear from this episode that actually she went through a transformation in that way. Oh, from that time, post electroshock seemingly like at some point she decided that she was going to reject the vision. She went back on medication and she's adopted this like new agey whatever, but also like yeah, just modern cognitive behavioral therapy kind of approach to dealing with like whatever it was that was going on with her in the woods, like it's a reveal that that's what had happened, but when they come back, she's like you know she's now doubting that, so it's like it's making it hard for her to, if she can't control the things and they just come back, it's like it makes her also want to believe, or it makes it hard for her to believe that that there's nothing to them, like why are they, why am I seeing these things now all of a sudden out of nowhere after all these years? Like, what does it mean? And then she goes to the stump and does the blood thing like she did when she was younger. And so it's like, just like Locke, it's like back and forth between, believing and going all in and then feeling like complete doubt and like thinking like it's all meaningless. And I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm completely lost, if you will, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a general thing I wanted to say about Lottie's Plotty, and so
Mm,
I thought that yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
it'll sort of come up along the way, but since you brought it up, I felt like I should say that because that's sort of my general summary of what they're doing with the character right now, and it was just interesting to see them actually go because I already thought that she was the Locke type character. And then but I was like, but not really though, because Locke was so like full of self doubt. It's like, let me get this episode, like,
Yeah.
oh, never mind.
Yeah, well, right, his self-doubt only, I mean, well, I guess he had deep-seated insecurities, but he had a lot of confidence as soon as he landed on the island and noticed that he had his feeling back in his legs. That was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
he developed a huge amount of confidence, but it
exactly.
was on shaky
Yes,
ground, I guess.
yes. But
But
then he still ended up doubting himself after, so it's like that was like the Lottie thing,
but this is a thing
initially.
about faith.
Yeah,
and that's what makes faith a tricky thing. Um, yeah, it's frustrating from the viewer's standpoint that it's not her normal therapist, because I want to know what her normal therapist would her regular therapist would say about that statement.
I think that's why they wrote it that
I
way,
know, I know.
to
I
not
just
give us that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's
I agree though.
and so that you get the chance for her to pose a question that her typical person wouldn't, because I mean, I guess the idea is her typical therapist would have just written the refill and she would have just left.
Hmm.
But anyway.
Maybe so. Yeah, yeah, it's also a way to communicate that this is unusual. Like she normally
Right,
wouldn't have gone,
right.
it's a special situation, and that's why her therapist isn't available. So I think they get a couple of things out of that, but yeah, it does leave us unsure about what the sort of status quo answer would be, and how much of that is just this therapist who doesn't really know Lottie, or what her deal is
Hmm.
exactly, like what her idea is of how to deal with these visions and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't know. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say is, uh, in case I forget later, I feel like also, um, Lottie has a boon, which is Mari in this episode, like the true believer who's also like not 100% sure, who's like afraid of doubting, I guess, like really needs to believe,
right.
and is possibly following Lottie to her own demise. I mean, that's certainly what I think is going to happen.
That is what I think is going to happen
So
too.
she's hearing this dripping, and she
Mhm.
was like, she was kind of mean again in this episode, and I just feel like, and maybe it has something to do with what's happening with Thaisa. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but anyway, I mean, there's other people who believe in Lottie. It's not just Mari, but Mari was like the number one believer in this episode.
Yeah,
You know. So anyway, but just yet
yeah,
another parallel.
yeah. Well, your best follower is also your most potent sacrifice.
Yeah. Hey,
I
hey, is that going to be a
I
line on
think
the
that's
show?
in Shakespeare.
Oh, maybe they'll quote Shakespeare on the show. All right. All right, you ready to continue? That wasn't
Let's.
fully relevant, but it was at least somewhat related. I do agree that, like, I wish, character-wise it makes sense, but I kind of wish Thaisa would agree to go to Lottie, just because I want to see what would happen. Not
Yeah,
because I necessarily think it would help, but I'm just kind of curious, like, what, Lottie doesn't even know that this is happening. And so it's like I don't have a clue what she would make of this. And so it just be interesting to me to see like that. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. Maybe it'll happen eventually, but not this episode. Okay. So at this point we go to a present day time montage. This is a weird little edited sequence where she sees herself doing stuff. I guess it's implied that she's watching the bad one,
yeah, yeah,
somehow.
yeah,
I don't quite know how that makes sense, but it seems like that's what's
yeah. It's
going
sort of
on.
like an out of body experience visualization.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's the idea. And we also see, the flashback to Jessica Roberts talking about some of the Yellowjackets living off the grid. So, setting up that thing later.
It's really off the grid if you own a video rental.
Yeah, that really does not count as off the grid, because literally to play a video, you got to be on
You
the
got to be on the
grid
grid.
unless you're like running a generator or
Yeah, there
something.
you go, on a generator.
You
If you
think
have
you
a
think they're all running generators?
Well, later when we see the ends, we see the back office, and it's just a bunch of interns pedaling stationary
Oh,
bikes,
hamsters.
hamster interns. Yeah, no, I whatever. It makes me wonder if they couldn't get Tori.
Yeah, it's possible. Although I thought she was always available in Vancouver. Anyway, no, I'm sure that's not true. But I Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, they maybe just didn't want to deal with the aftermath of that. Maybe they want to just keep her in their pocket. They're not sure what they want the outcome of that accident
It
to
definitely seems like the plot is veering hard away from that right now. Like Misty is off, searching for Lottie's camp, and so like it just seems like it doesn't make sense to really talk about that right now. So I kind of understand, but the fact that they did actually reference Jessica Roberts, unlike the it was on Ty's phone in the last episode, and here we actually see her on screen, makes me think that I feel a stronger chance that they will at least acknowledge her death on screen.
Yeah, I think we
Or she'll still be alive.
because they could have saved some time and had us just believe that she knew where Van's video store was.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't have to write it as involving this file.
it's true. It's true. Then we smash cut to, that's right, smash cut to, that's like harder than a jump cut. It's when you smash the cut.
It can only be made by smashing film together.
Yeah, yeah, you smash it,
Smash it, yeah.
wham. She wakes up in the car and it's out of gas because the bad one forgot to fill it up. Well done,
Yeah.
well done. She's on the way somewhere and stranded. She has a Yellowjackets file with a picture of a place. We know not what at this point. We may never find out. No, we probably will. She gets out of the car and seemingly decides to just walk the rest of the way.
Yeah.
However long that would have taken. I have a feeling that won't be necessary. Um, okay, and then we get our extra special version of the theme music this week.
Yes, extra and
It's
special.
apparently an Alanis Morissette version of the theme song that they're only gonna play this week. So that's weird. I don't know what to make of that. I
It
just
seems
find that
weird
very
for
odd,
it.
especially because it's very similar to the original. It just, you can tell it's different, but it's not like really different. It's also funny because later in the mall fantasy sequence with Lottie, they actually play a full crazy remix of the title theme,
Yeah,
that really is different,
yeah.
and but it's actually the same people who did the original. Anyway, it's just, I don't know. I just find it odd. Like, it's not. I can see why they'd want Alanis Morissette to do it, but I would expect them to have her do a distinct version, not such a similar version. Anyway, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Okay, so
Yeah, that was just the result of, somebody met somebody at a Hollywood party and was like, "Oh yeah, I
yeah,
know Alanis Morissette. She's obsessed with your
she's
show. She
Canadian.
loves it." Oh yeah, well they're allowed in Hollywood too, if they're famous already.
Yeah. So out of the, I'm sure you're right. Something like that happened. Um, or yeah. Some,
I like the sort of subtlety of it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it works for me.
Subtlety.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not a fan.
I'm not a fan. No, I just think with covers, like subtle
Yeah,
covers are
but it's
weird.
not. If I heard that on the radio and it was like a subtle cover of, but it's for the specific purpose. It's very cheeky, iconic '90s singer,
Hmm.
but she's too late for right. Isn't Alanis Morissette too late to actually be included in the show?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So
I feel like, well, yeah, she probably was popular after the plane
that's what I
crash.
mean.
Yeah,
That's what I mean. And so, they can't work her in, but they could.
yeah,
I don't know. It's like a little. It's not an Easter egg, but something a little cheeky for the fans.
yeah.
Um.
No, I agree. I agree.
So, anyhow,
Um. Yeah. So we come out of the credits, and let's see. So yeah, so we're back at home with Shauna and Jeff. Jeff's been told apparently that a tow company found the van on the side of the road.
yeah,
Wow, Shauna, great lie.
it's great.
I mean, I mean, it's like You told him that you did a murder, and you can't just tell him that you tracked the van down and made them give it back.
He sort of, I don't know. Two things. He doesn't want to know that he doesn't want to be um, you know, aware of this crime that she's committed. And also he kind of made it a relationship issue. Like, don't do this. Don't, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like it becomes a relationship issue rather than simply a you pulled a gun on somebody.
right, right, right,
Um,
right.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Poor Jeff, though. I mean, I think he's easy to make fun of because he's such a little dope, but he just seems like a really well-meaning
Yeah,
person. He's so quick to forgive Shauna about the affair.
yeah,
He seems sort of like somebody who thinks that he doesn't deserve very much.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. He's a sad character because you know, like the thing that he did is bad, but it's just so far out of the league of what the other people on the show have done
Yeah,
that he just seems like pretty harmless in comparison.
yeah,
you know? So it's just like he's like dropped in the middle of this and he seems like, even though like I said, he did a thing, but comparatively he seems like such an innocent character that, you know, doesn't really deserve to have to deal with this level of drama. Like it's really over the top.
so you want to know what the real crackpot theory is? What if Walter sent the postcards? I don't have any idea. I don't have any theory about how he would know about the
That's
symbol.
interesting.
I don't know how he would know about the symbol.
That's a that's a good theory. Well, I'll tell you how he would know about the symbol. I mean, he's into this like citizen detective shit. Like he could have had someone. I mean, if well, I mean, Jeff probably got it from the diaries, but I feel like they could tell us that he was able to find out about the symbol through various means. For example, like the simplest thing, although that would be a problem for the plot that they're doing right now, would be that he found out about Lottie's cult and they use the symbol. Like
Hmm.
that'd be the simplest way he could find out about the symbol. But if he already knows about Lottie's cult
That's
and
a really
he's
good point.
concealing it,
They got these known cult members, easily recognizable because they all dress in the same heliotrope, walking around with this symbol.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Like the way the show's working right now, it doesn't seem like that's how he could have found out. But I'm just thinking, like, if they were going to tell us that he sent postcards, I feel like they would tell us that
Yeah,
he used some citizen detective stuff to like find out about the symbol, and maybe they would kind of bullshit it. But I feel like they wouldn't. I feel like that's an easy patch for the show to get over. Like,
yeah,
just tell us he whatever he did whatever to find it out from whoever he was investigating. I mean,
yeah,
there is a specific conversation with Misty about that. Actually, it's coming up pretty soon
yeah.
here.
Yeah, we'll get
So
to
we
it.
can talk about it when we get there. But I think your theory that Walter sent the postcards is absolutely. I mean, yeah. If it wasn't Lottie, and it's some other person, and it wasn't Thais's bad one, I think he's definitely up there in the list of potential suspects since he's a new character who's knows stuff about the Yellowjackets clearly, and seemingly has all kinds of free time on his hands, and is particularly obsessed with Misty in this case. But um, anyway, it's a good theory. It's a good theory.
All right, thanks.
I'm glad you came up with that. I don't know why I didn't think of that. It seems so obvious when you say it, but
Everything
like
seems
it
obvious when
literally
somebody
never
says
occurred
it.
to me. Anyway, okay. Right. So at this point, Callie comes in and says she's hanging out with Alana tonight. Later, y'all. She didn't say later, y'all. Um,
Her eyes did.
and Shauna's gonna go to Kohl's and get some socks. It's like Coupon the movie all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's that rewarding suburban life.
yeah, and Jeff says that the cops know about the affair. He overheard them talking about it at the gym. Are you serious, Jeff? What's wrong with you? Why is your life so bad? Like, th- detectives are openly discussing a murder case within earshot of someone implicated in the case at the gym? Are you fucking kidding me? What kind of story is that? Like you're worse than Shauna with us. Like no, they just
Yeah.
found it on the side of the road. I don't know. We got lucky. Like this is way
Yeah, why?
worse.
Yeah, why doesn't I understand if he doesn't want to admit to that he started the conversation with Kevin with a Y because it was
Yeah,
a foolish
it was.
conversation.
He clearly
But
realizes that was a bad idea.
he could say, ran into Kevin at the gym and he told me that you were having an affair.
Yeah,
And
yeah. He could. He didn't have to frame it like I confronted him, and
right, right. But of course he's such a bad liar. He would have flubbed that too.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. It's amazing he got involved in a blackmail scheme. Like
Uh yeah. It
like that he was able to keep it a secret, for so long, considering how, yeah,
but it might
seemingly
not have been a very long time
bad he is
actually.
at deception. Well,
Yeah,
so long, I mean a
longer than
few days at least.
longer than 0
Yeah, that's
seconds.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, right. And then he speculates that, oh, maybe you were seen in public. This is another thing that's annoying about this. He doesn't acknowledge what Kevin actually said. He's saying he overheard it. Why couldn't he just overhear what the real thing was, which is we got intel. Someone told us this, not like, oh, they were just seen in public. Like that, he knows that's not what Kevin thinks or what the cops think. So why mislead? I don't know. Anyway, I just it's like lie upon lie for no reason. Anyway, all right. No, there is a slight reason, but it's a shitty reason. Anyway, the scene was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it's like characters. Every character in the scene is lying to every other character in this scene. It's like nary a truth is spoken in this entire scene. Sean is like lie, 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 lie. And then Callie is like lie, lie, lie. And then Jess like lie, lie, lie. And then it's the end of the scene.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. Okay. Um,
There's some candor coming.
there is some candor. And maybe they're setting that up. Maybe that's the point.
Hmm.
They're trying to show
The
like
truth will
so
set
many
you free.
lies and the truth will set them free. There you go. Okay, so present day Lottie is getting ready. She's at her little, cabin house. It's pretty nice for a cabin. Anyway, fancy ass cabin. It's not like the cabin on Lost, let
It's
me tell you.
glamping.
It's yeah, glamping. There you go. Hey, I forgot about that
Hey.
one. So present day, she's getting ready to leave. She's like dressed and stuff, like dressed in like going out clothes, not in like flowy
Not a yeah.
flowy guru clothes like she
I'm
has with
surprised that she
the
owns clothing that isn't flowy guru clothes. Because like guru isn't a job, right? It's an all the time thing. But I guess maybe not. I guess maybe it's just, you dress up for work and you come home and you change in your
yeah,
complete
maybe it's
form.
just an affectation and she's just doing it for the camp and like or she's actually embarrassed by I don't know, it's weird. Like why does she dress differently to go to the therapist? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Natalie comes in. Lottie says, I forgot about this. Lottie says she's going to the bank.
What's that so funny?
I just think that's a hilarious lie. Speaking
Hmm.
of characters with crappy
Yeah.
lies, yep, just going to the bank.
To get money to pay the yeah, I don't know.
It's
I
just such a like,
yeah, I'm going to the bank to deposit the acorns that like I don't know, it seems like the kind of place where money is not a thing.
I agree. I agree. Though they did say she had a Rolex, and so I'm
Right.
assuming that the acolytes like pay,
Yeah, yeah.
to be there in
Yeah.
some way. So, um,
Yeah.
or at least some of them do.
Can't they just Venmo that though? I
I
mean,
know, but they are living in this rustic, like they probably don't
yeah.
have cell service, so like maybe she has to go,
If they don't have self-service, that's definitely going to become a plot point.
yeah, it probably will. Well, I'm pretty sure they did. Well, I'm not 100% sure. We'll see. We'll see. When Misty and Walter get there, I'm sure we'll find out if they have cell service or not.
Hmm.
That'll make it clear. Okay, right. So, uh, Nat wants her keys to help Lisa run the farmer's market booth. Lottie is skeptical, but Nat says she wants to bond with Lisa now that they've made up. And so Lottie agrees and gives Nat the keys.
So I, like Lottie, was also skeptical, but it does seem like, although she has her own motives for wanting to do it, that she does intend to go sell honey at the farmer's market.
Yeah,
They just never make it there.
yeah.
Because my thought was, oh, she's just taking the keys. We're gonna find out that she didn't go. She was just
Hmm.
stealing the keys so she could break into Lottie's place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I still feel
Which
like she
we are
might
still
do
gonna
that.
see that, but
Yeah,
it's like, I just thought Lottie handed over the keys a little cavalierly. Like,
I
you
agree.
give her the entire key ring, just give her the key to the van.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only key she needs.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, it's weird. It's yeah. But I think she's probably gonna go in there,
she's playing
even though she didn't
slightly
in this
older
episode.
than
But
I.
yeah, no, she committed to the thing. She did the full thing, and she even did the bonding.
She did, yeah. Again, perhaps to her own chagrin, she did bond with Lisa, and
Yeah,
she came to Lisa's defense. It
yeah,
was actually pretty sweet.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the
yeah.
fish thing
She
was
put a
great.
fish
She
in
put a
her
fish in
mouth
her mouth.
for Lisa. I
Yeah,
mean, if that's not, a gesture of friendship, I don't know what is.
yeah. That's Nat's version of a hug and I forgive you.
Did she like fill her mouth with spit so the fish could can a
I think
fish
she just
breathe
like
in spit?
stuck her face down into the aquarium and caught like a
With
mouthful of
water.
water.
Oh, okay, so she had water in there. The fish was like swimming in her mouth.
No, they conveniently don't show us how it happened because what the fuck? I was
It's just such
supposed to
a weird
believe.
way to take the
I mean,
fish.
you know what? Here's another way you could take a fish. Just, oh, I just need a glass of water before I go. Just go into the kitchen, get a glass of water, scoop it up in a cup, put the cup in your jacket or under your flowy shirt. But
Yes,
yeah, it's not nearly as dramatic. I love it. Well done, Nat.
it's a weird
Nat
detail,
is a
but
true friend.
it's clearly. Very loyal, very, yeah, she'll go
Mhm.
out of her way to help you, and even if it's
Yeah. I mean, she's clearly
a
it's
bit over the top.
displaced, she sees herself in Lisa.
Oh,
But
clearly. Yeah, that's a big part of the point
but
there.
but it doesn't matter, it's still a nice thing. I mean, it matters, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
anyhow,
Yeah.
that's not the scene that we're talking about.
It is not. Yeah, I was expecting her to be more manipulative with Lisa,
Yeah.
but she's pretty on the level for this episode, I think.
Yes.
So, now it may pay off in the sense that she's able to get away with certain things now that
Yeah.
she's on good terms with Lisa, but it's not clear 100% to me that that's the only reason she did it. So,
Yeah.
anyway, okay. Right. So then we go over to Misty and Walter. They're driving to Cherry. I already forgot what it calls, and I didn't bother to look up because I don't really care. But someplace in New York where Lottie's camp is called camp. The town at least by there.
Cherry Corner?
Cherry Corners. Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was it. I had it in my last note. I could have looked it up. I was just
Doesn't
like,
matter.
I'm not gonna bother because no, it really doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Cherry Town.
Cherrytown, New York. Misty is calling Ty and getting voicemail. It's a running theme this season that no one's returning her calls. We learned that she had also been calling Shauna, and she's also not calling back. Um, Walter says they're lucky to have her. Walter asks her to choose the music from some tapes that he has, cassette tapes, by the way. Misty thinks this means that Walter is a Yellowjackets freak. I guess reading between the lines here, she's implying that he had like done a lot of digging. So this is an example of the symbol thing, right? Like she's saying, "Oh, you did research and figured out that I was a big musical fan, and
Yeah.
that means that you must be obsessed with the Yellow Jackets." I think that's the
Yeah.
leap she's making
Yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah. But yeah, I guess I thought that, the symbol is not on the level of, they would have concealed that symbol.
Yeah,
They presented them in season one, the symbol as being something that only someone in the know would know about. But it is true that now that we know the cult, Lottie's cult just
yeah.
uses that symbol,
Jeff knows
then
about it, and Randy could even know about it potentially since he
Randy
was
might know
involved
about
in the
it. Yeah.
scheme. So
Yeah.
it's like, and if Randy knows about it,
But
like,
it's like Randy's too dumb and Jeff's too sweet to actually like weaponize that information.
yeah, like they might not weaponize it, but I could imagine that their knowledge of it maybe could lead to it being passed on
Like, oh,
somewhere.
like Walter was spying on them because Jeff's married to a Yellow Jacket and just overheard them in the fucking pub, like
Yeah,
drawing pictures of it on a napkin,
there's a
keeping
scene that could
diary.
happen.
Yeah,
There's a scene
I
that could
can't wait for
happen.
that scene. They're just spying on Jeff. And
If you call
yeah,
it, I'm gonna say
he
it.
grabs the fucking bar napkin on his way
Yeah,
out. Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
And then we see him go buy some postcards, and yeah, I'm just saying that could happen. And if it does, you called it. Okay, so and so Misty says she's not going to tell him anything about what happened out there. But Walter denies it and says being a yellow jacket is the least interesting thing about her, which I feel
Which
like
is
is
such a horse shit.
I
Like,
feel like that's
come
like
on. That's a line. That's a line. I guess it's a really specific pickup line, but there are lots of interesting things about you besides the fact that you're a yellow
yeah,
jacket.
you don't gotta like
You
why
know,
phrase it like that? Because come on, like no, I like Missy is an interesting character. I agree that that's not but like come on, that's pretty interesting.
I mean, possibly the most interesting thing about her is that she was able to con her way into the funeral of a patient at the elder care center where she worked so that she could slip the hands and feet and head, the hands and head
Yeah, hands in the head. Yeah.
of a murder victim into the coffin as it was going into a crematory. If he knows that about her, then he knows something about her that is more interesting than the fact that she's a yellow jacket. I haven't seen anything else.
I'm not 100% convinced by that if he knew the full story of what happened
No, no, no. Not if he knew the full
with the
story.
Yellow
Yeah.
Jackets, but
If he knew
if he
that
only
she.
knows that she survived a plane crash in the wilderness and
Right.
came back, like then I would agree. Then I
If
would
he,
agree.
yeah, if he knew that she, delivered the meat of Mari McMorrison to, yeah, if he
Yeah.
had seen that sequence from the pilot, then um, yeah,
Yeah.
he'd have a different opinion.
Definitely. Yeah, that's really more what I have in mind. And I guess that's part of the disconnect there for me is that like I know like first of all like the show's called Yellow Jackets. Like being Yellow Jacket better be interesting or this show is like on on a bad track. You know? like but there's also this thing where what the public knows is much less than what we know and even less still than what they know.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, okay, so right. Uh he says he just happens to love musicals. But he does also mention that she referenced one on the board, which is a much simpler way that he could have known that. Anyway, um he tries to put on Cinderella with trains, playing all the parts. This is apparently, I looked this up, it's an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical from the 80s called Starlight Express, where it's the story of Cinderella, but the characters are all trains, and apparently they perform on roller skates. That's the gimmick.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird.
The drugs were
It's weird.
really chilling
How
back
it's
then.
about trains.
Yeah, yeah. Andrew Lloyd Webber had some out there ideas. I don't know musicals at all, but I think there's kind of a problem with trains because they're stuck on tracks.
Yeah.
I just think that really complicates the story of Cinderella. I'm like trying to imagine if everybody was stuck on rails. Um,
I think you can't think about it that hard, or you're gonna be in
I was gonna
trouble.
say I don't think that I can think about it hard enough.
Well, okay. Maybe it's a different way to say the same thing. I don't
Maybe,
know.
maybe.
So Misty decides to choose, and she selects Rainbow Tour, which is apparently from Evita, which is also Andrew Lloyd Webber. Apparently, I didn't know that.
Oh, and they're singing Evita in the cabin
Yeah, so
in the
she
next
puts it
scene.
on in the car, and then it's a transition to the scene in the past where she and Crystal are singing it in the cabin.
Oh, we're right. She made a Sweeney Todd reference. Is Sweeney Todd also Andrew Lloyd?
I don't know.
Did Are there other
There must be.
authors of
There must
musicals?
be.
There's got to be others. I mean, he didn't write Oklahoma, right?
No, I'm pretty sure he didn't write Oklahoma.
He's too young for that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That was like
But
the
he wrote,
30s or
he wrote
something.
like Phantom of the Opera, right?
Yeah, he did write Fan
My
of the Opera.
God,
Yeah.
he wrote all of them.
I mean, I don't think he wrote the original story of Fan of the Opera,
No,
but I think he wrote the
the
musical version.
musical, right? Jeez, Louise, what a prolific guy.
Yeah, yeah, no, he had
Didn't
a lot
he
of
die like a
hits.
couple years ago?
Did he
I
die?
think he died a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
He was pretty old.
yeah. Well, anyway, a
Yeah.
little off topic. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So I
Um,
just had to look it up because, like, I am not a musical person at all. So
no.
I didn't. She was like, "It's the story of it's dumb. It's the story of Cinderella, but they're all trains." And I'm like, "That sounds like the weirdest shit ever. What
It
is
sounds
that?"
so weird. It made me think of that thing in Blaine the train.
Oh yeah, from Dark Tower.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
was what I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
of.
yeah. No, I can see that definitely. Okay, so so we transition via the song. You know, we see Crystal and Misty, the younger
Argentina.
one. Well, yeah, it's something about Argentina. It's not that one,
No, I
but
know, but
something Argentina. Um, so we go to the cabin, and Shauna comes in with food. Akila mentions being tired of starling soup, so apparently they did eat the birds
yeah,
from the previous episode, which,
yeah.
you know, is what they should have
We
done.
did talk about that, I think.
We did, yeah. Shauna asks who stole bear meat. Apparently there's some missing, but no one will admit it. Mari thinks it's Ben, who thinks he's better than them. And Ben says he didn't take it, and if he did, would they eat him? He actually says
He
this.
actually said,
He said it right in front
which
of all of
actually
them.
makes me think that they're not going to eat him for a while. But I'll tell you what, shit stirrers get eaten.
I was like, I was
Mari
like,
keeps.
I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Ben? Don't say that out loud.
It's a little bit proving Mari's point, though.
Like,
It's like, you to say anything like that, you obviously do think you're better than us.
well, yeah, I totally agree. But that's why I'm saying he shouldn't. So then, like, Mari gets up, like she's gonna go fight him or something. And it's like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? And then Nat steps in. And then Mari blames Nat for the lack of food because she doesn't accept Lottie's blessings. And there's some discussion about how responsible Lottie was for the birds coming because she made the blanket. And it's like such a I mean, like, if I'm for real there, I'm on team, like, come on. Like, she made a blanket and some blood dripped on the blanket, and then the birds came. Therefore, Lottie made the birds come. Like,
Yeah, the bear is a better.
aren't there some other story? Yeah, it just seems like the bear is way
Yeah.
more of a like convincing thing in terms of Lottie's powers than that. Because that to me seems more like it's confirming the symbols
The symbol.
than
Yeah.
anything Lottie did. Like
Right.
couldn't you just believe if anybody sewed the blanket with a symbol
Yeah.
and
Maybe
they
it was
put it on
Shauna's
it?
blood that
Yeah, yeah. They could have gone
No,
that
it's
way.
the symbol. I mean, I think it's the symbol that does that. I don't know about the bear. I don't know why that happened. I don't have an explanation for that. But I do think the obvious thing to say is that Nat was finding game for them before Lottie became this religious figure doing these blessings.
Yeah,
Like the protective thing notwithstanding, it is not the refusal to accept the blessing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
She
Yeah,
was
yeah,
getting meat before.
yeah. But also, like, Travis was going with her a lot of times, and he was accepting the blessings. And why
Yeah.
didn't he get a ton of shit then?
Yeah.
You know, if it's that fucking easy, like,
Yeah.
like it's like I don't buy this argument. But anyway, they're making a point here, so
They're making a
I'm
point.
gonna I'm gonna have to let it go because it's clearly like a main point in this episode.
Yeah.
I just, but of course, like whenever it comes down to an argument like this, like I always don't buy it, but that's part of the point. Like, what kind of person are you, or would you be someone to like buy into this because this and this happened? Would you decide that it meant this thing? It's such a lost thing. I can't even. The show, it was already like Lost. It's becoming even more like Lost as time goes on. Like thematically, like
Mhm.
it's so I don't know. Anyway, there's something about that being stranded, being forced to like confront survival that makes you like confront these basic questions about what things mean and how you decide that. And
Yeah.
there is something inherent to that scenario, I think, that like leads you down that road.
Yeah.
Okay, so right, to continue here, right, there's some discussion about how responsible Lottie was for the birds. Then Van brings up the bear thing, which, like you said, is a valid point. And Mari says the only food we've had in months is thanks to Lottie. And so Natalie suggests a contest, and that's where we get, the impetus for the sort of main plot point of this episode in the past, at least. I just want to say, like, I think this is just one of those TV lines, but it's like, y'all ate Jackie yesterday. What did Lottie have to do with that?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Lottie had absolutely nothing to do with that. I don't understand. Anyway, like it doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. It's just weird to say that when like they literally just I don't
Yeah,
know.
what did Lottie produce besides the bear and the
Yeah,
birds? I mean, those are the only two
that's
examples.
it.
Like, yeah, she got
That's
one
all they
really
got.
big score. That bear was
Which
big.
is not nothing,
Right.
but it's I just hate that they have her phrase it as an absolute, but it's sort of like I get I think it's a TV thing where they don't want her to be like, well, except for Jackie,
Right.
because then it kind of ruins the punch of the line.
Yeah.
But when I hear it, I'm just thinking that's like so it's not just false, but like it happened yesterday. Like it's not like, oh yeah, a month and a half ago there was this one time that like, you know, uh Crystal came home with a turtle, like, like and we forgot about that, like it's
If Crystal found a turtle, she would not allow it to be eaten.
I know. I'm just saying like, like it's not that. It's like you you don't just forget about the
Yeah,
fact
yeah,
that you
yeah.
just ate Jackie.
Yeah, yeah,
Like there's no way. So and like Ben just said, what are you gonna do? Eat me? I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
it's just a TV pet peeve. It
Yeah.
bothered me. I'm gonna move on, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Evidently.
Are you good to go?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
So we go to
Oh, this
Natalie.
contest is a terrible idea, by the way. And I was so sure that the result of this contest was going to be that Nat was going to come home with game and there would be this, heroic moment, and that then uh Lottie was going to come home with Javi
Ah,
and totally like undercut the
right.
so that is not really
That's
what
almost what
happens.
happens, though. It's on the right track of
It's
what they did.
yeah, I was getting at some of watching TV right.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
did a little
The
different.
wild card here is Thaisa as the sort of rival, like spiritual leader. The bad one, Thaisa, really, because
Hmm.
regular Thaisa doesn't believe in the stuff, which is like, interesting road to go down for that. Like that's
Hmm.
something Lost didn't do. Have like
Hmm.
a character who's like actually a dichotomy of like pure believer and pure skeptic at the
Yeah.
same time and goes back and forth between the two and
Yeah.
there's like a war between them.
Hmm.
Like it's a very stark version of like what could be an internal conflict and in a much more mild form,
Hmm.
on a normal show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, it was on the right track, even if that's not exactly what happened. Okay. So we go to Nat and Lisa in the car. Nat questions Lisa about the rules of Lottie's camp, and Lisa says they're allowed to leave whenever they want for as long as they want. And Nat's like, well, I don't know, that I think that's more like manipulation and control. And Lisa says, no, no, we want to do all this stuff. It's our choice. We love purple. Purple makes everyone equal. Like that's the idea. Apparently, it's like a school uniform or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're all equal because we all wear purple. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And then she says, being in the camp changed her, which I'm sure it did. I mean, how do you not change when you live in a weird ass place like that? I mean,
Seems nice.
I think it's not supposed to be unappealing,
Yeah. I guess that's why it
I
works.
think that's yeah, I think that's definitely part of the point of the thing here. But yeah, this is mostly a transitional scene, so we can just go forward unless you want to say something about this.
No.
Okay. So we go to Lottie at a therapist, not her regular one, as we noted earlier. She normally goes every 6 months, and this visit is earlier from what her normal schedule would be. Lottie suggests upping her meds because she started having visions again for the first time in decades. Something she throws in
Indeed.
here. So
First time
so
in
that this is where
decades.
we learn like
Yeah.
the thing we saw in the last episode wasn't just like, oh, this has been happening the whole time. This was a new thing. So um she says they need to stop. She phrases things very vaguely here. She says the last time it became something different and it can't happen again. It became something different. Like, I love the vagueness of that. Like, what does that mean? Anyway, obviously they can't tell us too much about what happened in the past, so they're having to
Right.
tiptoe around whatever the extremities of whatever Lottie got into
Right.
in the
Right.
woods. But
Right. So, and so your interpretation of that line is that she's talking about what happened in the woods.
yeah, because she says for the first time in decades, and yeah, I feel like she
Yeah.
must mean the woods
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
I mean, I think she did have some stuff right after because they showed it.
Hmm.
They showed the post rescue
Yeah.
that she was still having visions.
Hmm.
But I feel like here when she says it became something different, she's talking about what happened in the
Yeah.
woods.
Yeah.
That it just
It's
makes
the
the most
most obvious
sense.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it can't happen again. She's helping people and herself. But the therapist suggests reframing them and not pushing them away and asking, what are they trying to tell her? Like, I don't know if this is really the thing to say, but anyway, that's what she
Yeah.
says. But Lottie says nothing because they're not real.
Yeah.
So this was the line where I go, oh, now I understand what that speech was about. Like
Hmm.
it finally connected the dots for me that there's a behind the scenes arc here between the electroshock stuff post rescue and the speech that they cut to. Like that was the point that they were making. Not that she's lying, but that she's changed.
Yeah.
She's completely reframed the way she's thinking about the visions and she's rejected them.
Yeah.
Whereas clearly in the past she gave them a lot of weight, even though we're seeing that even in her younger days she had some doubts about them. But when she came back, she eventually decided to reject them, go back on the meds, and see a therapist not super often, but just as a regular check-in, and it's there if something goes wrong, which it clearly has. So anyway,
Well, but so my interpretation of that was just that she only goes the minimum number of times once every 6 months, just being enough to get her
to maintain the
prescription
prescription.
fulfilled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But
Um.
the fact that she thinks like it's interesting because there's a line later with Lisa and her mom where she talks about weaning herself off the medication where I felt like it was implied that they did that at the camp and it made it seem like the ethos of the camp was to reject medication
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
treatment of illnesses like this. And it's interesting that Lottie's taking medication, you
Yeah.
know, like like
Right. Right. But there's depression is different from schizophrenia or whatever this medication
fair
is for.
enough, fair enough, but it just shows there's a bit of there's a bit of
Yeah. Well, she
leeway.
lies that she doesn't. They don't know she's going to
Yeah,
a therapist in town.
clearly not. No,
You know.
she just goes to the bank every 6 months.
Right.
Anyway,
Once every 6 months.
I thought you were at the bank. Anyway, okay. So yeah, I think yeah, this is. I mean, we kind of talked about this earlier, but I think this is. I think it's an interesting moment. It's a lot of insight. Like, definitely, like Lottie's character is not what I expected from season one. It's really, but of course, I'm sure that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely working for me. I think it's good that they didn't just make her a supervillain, which is kind of what it came across like in season one.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's better to have her be like a real character
Yeah.
who's like not pure evil, but
Yeah.
who does get carried away in certain ways with her own, you know, like whatever's going on with her psychologically like influences her in various ways, and whatever there is that's actual external reality, you know. I mean, in the case of Thaisa, like, you know, how does she know where the symbols are, you know?
Right.
It's a valid point. Like, are we supposed to think that the bad one goes out and finds them and then goes back there because she already knows, like, you know,
No,
just
I think it's like the symbols have some kind of power that draws the bad one to them.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes it hard to reject that there's something to them.
There's
It's not
something to them.
just shit going on in Thaisa's head, you know?
No, I think there is something to them.
That's like a true thing. However, what happens later, you know, anyway,
Yeah.
it gets so lost this show. Anyway, um we'll come back to that. All right, you ready to okay.
Yeah.
So we go back to the cabin. Misty lays out the rules for the hunting contest. Nat takes the gun because Lottie doesn't need one, according to Mari. Lottie, by
Lottie
the
says
way,
almost nothing.
says no. She actually doesn't speak this entire sequence
Yeah.
where they set up the when they suggest the contest, as they're getting ready for the contest, as they leave. She didn't say a word the entire time.
Yeah.
And so you're left wondering, like, what does she even think about this,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Like, does she have any confidence in her ability to
yeah.
find
And I
something?
think the answer is no, not
Yeah.
really. She is very, very not sure that she's going to be able to do
I think
anything.
she also, we find out from this episode that it's only Mari who, well, maybe some of the others, maybe Van, who place agency on her. You know, she
Yeah.
seems to think of herself as like a receptacle
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for some stuff, but they seem to think that
Channeling the
she's
thing, that she's like
right,
doing it, like
right,
she's commanding it.
right.
Like, yeah, no, I agree. I agree. That's like that's more their interpretation than Lottie's actual interpretation, which yeah, makes me think she needs to like start instructing them on what she actually believes, because like it's like you people are getting carried away. I don't even think that. Like,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, listen to what I actually believe and then decide if you want to follow me. Um, right, they prepare to leave outside and set out, and Ty walks away from this as Van watches. There's a shot of the trees. They do this shot, like overhead shot of the trees, a few times. I mean, they did in the last episode. Like, it's a thing. Sometimes they just cut to a shot of the trees. It almost seems like it's implying like the spirit of the woods over them or something, you know, because they used it in that shot right before the snow fell on
Yeah.
Jackie's body burning, you
Yeah.
know, and so it just seems like it's correlated with like suggesting that idea.
Yeah.
Um, so then we follow Lottie as she stands in the woods. She has the knife. That's her only weapon, apparently. She finds the tree symbol from earlier, the one that I believe the one that Van and Thais were at earlier in the episode. That's what it looked like to me. I mean, I can't verify that. But anyway, it's a symbol. And she touches it, seemingly like trying to like get something from
Yeah.
it. But I think she doesn't, and she says, fuck me. And
Mhm.
then we go over to Nat hunting the normal way with a gun. And instead of like touching tree
Mm.
symbols and hoping for a sign. Anyway, she finds some tracks. I guess these are moose tracks, even though I didn't think that at the time when I saw it originally. But she finds some tracks and follows them. So I take this to mean that that moose really was there, and like
Yeah.
after the confrontation at the plane, it like ran away and got trapped under the snow, under the lake,
ice.
ice and the snow. Like it fell through or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and got and died there. Like
Yeah.
because there's tracks leading there, you know,
Yeah.
so it all kind of adds up. I mean, there is a moose there, you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I guess it was a real moose. I guess
right,
it was.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Either that or it was as a premonition.
that's the other way you could go with it. But like the fact that you thought there were tracks even there in the last episode,
It looks like there were tracks.
you
Yeah.
know, and the fact that they showed tracks again here makes me think that it's equally, if not more likely, especially because of Nat's disposition and the fact that she's not having a ton of visions on the show. That's not really her thing.
Yeah.
It seems more likely to me that it actually was a
Yeah.
moose there, and this is that moose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're just literally finding out what happened to it, you know, after the thing at the plane.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay. Uh, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, feel free to jump in anytime, but I just want to make sure if you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
No, I'll say something about that later in the scene.
later when we get to the follow up. Okay. So we go to the present. Alana's mother, Michelle, comes up to Shauna at Kohl's. I hope she's there to buy socks too. And we find out that Callie hasn't been over there at all, even though that's where she claims to be all the time. So Shauna goes home and searches through Callie's room, and eventually she finds the picture from Adam's burned driver's license in her desk. And then we cut over to Callie walking down the street, and if you pay attention to her phone, you will notice something that I didn't notice the first time, which is the person that she's arranging to meet is actually Jay the cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to a park and drinking with this cop. Like, is that's really what's
That's
happening?
the other thing. That's the other thing that is going to come to a head with this whole like. So we were talking yesterday.
Did you see that the first time?
I didn't see it, but I assumed that was.
You just assumed that's who it was.
Yeah.
You can see it. It says Jay on her phone,
Okay.
and I was like, "Oh shit, that's the cop."
Yeah. So that's the other thing that's going to come to a head here. So we were talking about like what is going to intervene to prevent Shauna from being arrested for the murder of Adam
Mm-hmm.
and convicted. Like
Yeah,
that is just not going to happen in the show. And you said, you mentioned Nat, Kevin's enduring love for Nat, who was involved in disposing of the body,
Yep.
finding that information out might get Kevin to back off. The other thing is Jay is drinking and providing alcohol to an underage
To a minor.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
is
in high school apparently. So.
And she's the daughter of their suspect, which is completely unethical.
And he knows
Bordering
that.
on entrapment. He knows it. He's
Right,
doing
she's
it on
lying
purpose.
to him about her age, but he knows it's a lie.
He knows how old she is.
So he's just like letting her get away. And did he cite that bar for selling to a minor? Probably not. But like,
Right.
it's just like, it's like,
And he's not an undercover cop.
is that how he's gonna go down for corrupting a minor, or like he's fouling the investigation, and like that's how it's gonna fall
I think
apart?
Shauna's gonna do her Shauna thing. Her intimidating, her super scary monologue.
You think she's gonna like take him to a warehouse and
Yeah.
work him over?
Yeah.
Cut his ear off.
Yeah.
Eat it in front of him.
Yeah. My hand is shaking because of how bad I want to eat your ear.
Those are nice ears you got.
So, all right. So she is texting Jay, who she does not know is
a
an
cop.
undercover cop.
Yeah.
Who is not an undercover cop, by the way. You can't just go undercover as a cop. You can't, like if you're not in the undercover unit, you can't like be an undercover cop.
Yeah, no. I mean,
that is also a violation.
He's like an undercover cop in the sense that he's a cop and he's not revealing that he's a cop.
He's just
but
lying.
He's not like formally an undercover cop,
Right.
clearly.
Right.
It's yeah, it's like I feel like does Kevin know this is going on? Like,
Kevin
like
Kevin confronted him in in some previous episode, couple
the
episodes.
first episode that happened after the bar scene,
Yeah,
there's a scene
he
between
says,
he
yeah,
says back off,
yeah, he says back
and
off.
but like he's still meeting her
Right.
seemingly every day in the park, and they're drinking, and she's saying God knows what, and she just learned about the truth. So it's like, is she gonna go now? Even though the end implies that like she's won over by learning the truth and she doesn't go out,
Yeah.
there's still a lingering thing there that like she's been talking to a cop this whole time and they don't know. So yeah, the other shoe has to drop with that clearly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sean drives up and asks Callie to get in. I just need to say that to end
Yeah.
the scene. There's nothing to say because we're gonna come to that later. But anyway, I had to finish that. I had to finish that moment. Okay. Um, right. So then we go over to Misty and Walter in a restaurant. Misty wants to just ask the waitress about the cult because that's fucking easy. Surely they've heard of it. But Walter thinks it's a bad idea. Not really sure why, but he says that. And then he does like a weird thing with his food. I dare not describe it. There's like syrup and mustard involved. And so Misty asks, "What's your deal?" This is a great question to ask. What's your deal? And so at this point, we learn that Walter is a millionaire because some bricks fell and hit him, and he sued for damages. Um, so that's one way to the top, I guess.
Oh, he's at the top, all right.
Uh, I mean, he's living the dream. What can you say? I mean, could you ask for a better life? He's hanging out on a yacht and he's like doing like amateur,
And
like
he spends all his waking hours on Reddit.
he's having the time of his life. I mean, to me, that's like, I don't know.
Sure, no, he's living his best life.
Yeah, yeah. That may not be for everyone, but anyway, yeah. That's what it seems, okay? But he did
Yeah.
describe himself as Moriarty, so what are you hiding, Walter? Did you send the postcards? I'm talking to you. What's your deal?
What's your deal? Mustard syrup
Could he be
eggs.
lying about this? I'm just gonna put it out in the open, right? Misty didn't know, right? She asks, right? She doesn't say one thing or the other here. So could she research later and find out it's a lie? Anyway, just in case that happens, I want to make sure I acknowledge that possibility.
Yeah.
We shouldn't necessarily take everything Walter says at face value.
Yeah, indeed.
So, because it's a crazy story. Okay, so at this point, Misty just asked the waitress about the cult, and we learned that they're awful tippers, which is really funny and like a weird detail to throw in. Like, why why are they such bad tipper? Does Lottie have a commandment about like tipping is bad because it teaches service people to be ungrateful? I don't know. Like what's the pitch for like tipping badly?
That's funny.
Anyway, at this point, we also learn that they sell honey at the farmers market. So she's gonna go meet Nat at the farmers market, right? That's what's gonna happen. Yep, here we go. I hope you're all ready for that scene.
What you think is gonna happen?
It's definitely set up for that to happen. Which is why that's not what happens.
What percentage of farmers market vendors are cults? It's something I never thought about before.
Well, yeah. One podcast I listened to, I think it was Blood Hive actually, referred to the electroshock to cult leader pipeline, and I feel like there should also be a cult to farmers market vendor pipipeline.
Yeah.
You could actually go from it could be a pipeline all the way.
Yeah. From electroshock
to farmers market
via
vendor.
cult.
Yeah, with a cult in the middle, providing the infrastructure. Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So then we just get a very functional scene where Ty walks to her destination, a semi truck stops, and the driver offers a ride. He voted for her. Ty gets in. This is a very simple thing that, in a way, I don't even understand why they included this because they get nothing out of it. Nothing comes of it. And even when she gets out of the truck later, they don't even show the guy say goodbye. Like she just hops out.
Yeah, they just need to show her not walking the whole rest of the way.
Yeah, I just feel like they could have had her car brake close enough where she could walk the whole way,
Eh,
or just have her drive there. Like I just don't understand why they even wrote it like this. It just feels totally
mm.
unnecessary. I find this odd because I just feel like if you're gonna write this in, something should happen.
Maybe the I mean, somebody at some point is going to be like, "Where is the state senator whose
Oh,
wife
they'll
is in
find
the
her car
hospital?"
abandoned in the
Find her car
NFL.
abandoned, and then yeah,
Okay, maybe
I
that
mean, it's not her car; it's her chief of staff's car.
right, but they'll
But
know that she took it because
yeah,
she knows that she took
yeah,
it. So
yeah, and so
yeah,
then there will be this hitchhiking trucker who,
right,
anyway,
yeah,
and
yeah,
because he
yeah.
knew who they
And
made a
Jessica
point he knows who
Roberts will
she
track her
is.
down
Ugh.
because she's still alive. No, I don't know. Anyway, okay. So then we go back to the cabin. Everyone's waiting for the contest to play out. At this point, Mari hears the dripping again, which no one else hears. So,
Foreboding.
week two of the dripping plot. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so weird. We get nothing more about it here. It seems like we will, but we don't. She decides to investigate, and you think maybe this is going somewhere, but no. She asks Aquila to help, but she's studying for the SAT. But since that's not really urgent, she decides she can help. And then she checks the pantry and finds a mouse.
Oh.
And she picks up the mouse and puts it in her pocket before Mari can see.
It's really there. I just
You
that
think she's imagining
mouse.
the mouse?
Well, that's just a really courageous mouse.
It is a courageous mouse that just casually lets her like
Yeah,
pick it up and
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I just see, I don't know, I can see her wanting to, her imagining a little pet
Pet
to
mouse.
keep her company.
Is that where we're going? That would be a weird point.
I don't know.
Like look at my pet mouse and like that's just your hand, Aquila. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Is that where
It's
we're
about
going here?
the
No,
volleyball.
look, he's so cute. Look, I'm feeding him cheese.
Oh, where'd you get that cheese? That's not cheese. That's a stick.
Anyway,
Um,
this is a weird,
yeah, I want to know, like,
weird.
what is the mouse eating, and is it edible to
I was
humans?
thinking the same
Yeah,
thing.
mice can eat anything,
It's true.
though.
Yeah, mice can eat a lot of stuff that humans would probably
Yeah,
reject.
that mouse is so cute. Studying for the SATs is so sad. Watching this episode, I had this visceral, uh, I don't know, feeling of, oh God, what if you were trapped in a situation like this and all you had brought with you was an SAT study book? Like, you have to spend 18 months surviving in the wilderness, and the best thing you have to do with your free time is study for the SATs. Horrible.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Horrible.
But they do show Coach Ben having a book later.
Yeah, they need to have a book exchange.
So yeah, like there is
It's
more
like a
available.
little free library in the corner of the cabin.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm sure more people brought books.
Yeah, but are they
There's
going
got
to
to be more.
share?
Well, they might not. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see what it comes to.
See if they
Well,
believe in sharing.
what if the mouse eats her SAT book? The pages with the word that in the end causes her to fail her SATs.
I don't think she's getting out of those woods.
Oh,
No offense, but
but
it doesn't seem likely to me.
all the vocabulary she's learning, all the trigonometry.
I think they're gonna be. I think that's all gonna. It's all gonna be subsumed by everyone else when they
Oh
eat her
no,
brains.
that is how it works. That's how
Wow, I know
computing works.
so much more trigonometry now.
Yeah, ancient peoples would eat their enemies to absorb their,
Power.
power and
Yeah.
warfare.
Yeah.
Much the same with the definition of heliotrope. That's an
I
SAT
almost feel
word.
like that's what's going on with Shauna and Jackie. Like it was almost like she wanted to eat her to like absorb her powers, or
What?
I mean, I shouldn't go that far, but like she had this fixation on Jackie's, maybe power's not the right word, but status or
Status, yeah.
and like she was following in her footsteps and she even says like when she gives her final speech like I didn't know where you ended and I began and I feel like underlying that there's this idea of like wanting to eat her to claim that for herself or to overcome her dependence or something along those lines. Anyway, that's just something I was thinking about that little part of the plot.
Yeah.
Eating Jackie as a way to 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 take her take her status or something.
She hasn't done much with it.
No, not really. I don't think it worked, but I
Very.
feel like that was at least like part of the
Yeah.
deeper motivation.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So then Lottie goes to the Hollow Tree Stump Altar. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. It's certainly a Hollow Tree Stump Altar. Again, like with the symbol, I can't 100% confirm that's the same one from the end of season one, but I think it is. And she cuts her hand for blood, and she drips the blood at the altar, seemingly trying to generate something or other, offering to the god of the woods, il veut du sang, as we learned. So I guess that's what you feed it. um and then we go over to Nat. She seems to have lost the tracks, but then she sees some antlers sticking out of the frozen lake, and she investigates and sees. We don't find it out at this point, but we later find out it's the moose trapped under the ice in the lake. So that's where we end things for the moment.
Hold it actually is, but I'm not gonna punch holes in the. Okay, so how long would it have taken the lake to freeze over that thick? How long would it have taken?
Yeah,
So I will just say now, even though we have the scene has not come up, but like they were never going to get that moose out of there.
yeah, it seems pretty unlikely.
Not without a tow truck.
This time I noticed that Coach Ben's actually helping, which I think is funny. Like, I can't imagine how much leverage he can get.
He's helping pull with
He's actually there
on
pulling.
ice.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, how does that even work? Like,
Yeah.
you could lean your body weight, I guess, but you can't really, like,
He's really trying hard to look useful.
yeah, that's what it seemed like to me. Because, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I can't believe you even bothered to come here. Especially because, like, he talks about how he's unsteady. He didn't steal the meat because, like, he can't walk that well
Yeah.
outside. But he goes all the way to Lake. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter, but I was just surprised when I saw that. Okay, so then we go to the present. Nat and Lisa arrive at Lisa's mom's house so she can see her fish. Lisa asks Nat not to tell Lottie about it, the fact that they're going there. It's not a rule, but Lottie says we shouldn't do it. But it's not a rule. I mean, it's just a
Find
suggestion.
out in this scene that maybe Lottie was right. That going back to see her family was not a good.
It does seem that way. I agree. They go inside. Lisa's mom apparently is continues to clean the sheets, and she's ready to welcome Lisa back home. But Lisa says she's doing great. She's not on the medication. She weaned herself off of it. Lisa's mom thinks she's still depressed, but Lisa says she's confronting it. Nat tries to defend Lisa, and her mom asks her to leave. We'll
Yeah.
come back to that, obviously.
Washing unused bed sheets once a week is a mental health issue.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, does it run in the family? What are you doing? Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
there's clearly some extra stuff going on here beyond whatever Lisa's issues are. Okay, so then we go over to Shauna and Callie. They drive and stop at a remote place without cell phone coverage. Shauna gets out and taps for Callie to join. Shauna confronts Callie about lying about sleeping at Alana's, but Callie doesn't get to tell her the truth at this point, because we can't learn that just yet because the plot's not ready for it. So we pivot to the thing we can deal with, which is Callie asks Shauna about Adam. Hey, what are you lying about? I love that. That's such a classic TV thing. Like, there's like a valid point, but like the person just turns it around, and then like we never talk about the valid thing. We just move on to this other thing. Anyway, I've seen a million versions of that. Okay, so Shauna finally admits that she killed Adam, who wasn't actually the blackmailer, but she thought he was. And she also tells Callie that Jeff was actually the blackmailer. So so therefore she killed Adam because of Jeff, technically. Um but she defends Jeff nonetheless, and the context for the blackmail of the Yellowjackets brings up what they did in the woods, and Shauna doesn't want to talk about it, and uh, she asked to just like maybe I'll tell you someday, but please let me not talk about that right now. Because it's like Callie's thing is like, I'm so sick of the lies. I can't stand any more lies. And it's like, oh, does that mean I gotta like talk about everything from like the whole show right now? Because that would kind of ruin the whole show, Callie.
Yeah, that's not
Are
gonna
you gonna
work.
ruin the whole show, Callie? Thank you. Please don't ruin the whole show. Anyway, and then Shauna asked Callie not to tell anyone about it, meaning Adam's murder. Um, clearly, and probably the blackmail too, but the murder is probably the bigger deal
The
here.
murder's the bigger deal.
I mean, blackmail is a crime, but murder's a bigger crime. So anyway, Callie promises not to. Will she keep her promise? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right. So shall we continue from
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Good to go.
yeah.
We will come back to
It's
that.
good to have this scene.
Well, I agree. It's a relief. It definitely makes like life at the whatever house like
Yeah.
simpler.
Yeah, and it also just keeps the story from getting too tedious when people are concealing things from
Yeah.
one another that the audience already knows about. It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah. It gets tiresome,
yeah,
definitely. Which is why I was kind of annoyed that Misty was lying about Adam Martin, but I can understand why she doesn't want to like tell this like relative stranger that she was an accomplice to murder.
right.
On the for especially since he's a citizen detective, like it's like I don't know. Anyway, and to implicate her friends. Anyway, I get it, but it was also frustrating. Okay, so then we go. Wait a minute. Did I lose? Oh yeah. So cabin. Back to the cabin. So Van made a map of the trees, and she combines it with Ben's map from Natalie and Travis's tracks. She connects the trees, and they almost make the symbol. Ty is skeptical about it. The the way the way the marks fit together predicts that there will be a tree in a particular place with a symbol, and she wants Ty to go with her to find it. You know what? That's good science right there, right? If
Yeah,
you want to prove that there's really a pattern here, you let the pattern make a prediction and then
yeah,
you see if it actually works,
yeah, yeah.
right? And guess what? It doesn't. There is no symbol there. Do they find something there? Yes, they do not find a symbol there. So I just want to note that for the record. She obviously finds a way to make it like work, but I just think it's questionable whether there really is a pattern here. It's also
But
possible that
the pattern directed them to, well, yeah,
but like those car I mean the car's already there like before Javi, it doesn't I don't know. Anyway, it reminds me so yeah, well, should I should I talk about that later or now? I'll talk about it later.
all right.
I want to save the thing. But I just thought this was actually like for Van, who's like all in and like she's like buying into all the strange stuff going on. I thought this was a good step to bring Ty in because it's like, look, like I'm being scientific about
Yeah,
this, okay? I'm not saying like you have to believe this means something, but like if this fits a pattern, then doesn't that at least support that
yeah,
this is true,
yeah,
And that does seem valid. Anyway, so then we go to Ben, who tries and fails to read, and then he has another VHS flashback. He finds a box of old relationship stuff with Paul's, and Ben doesn't have a box like this. And Paul says that's just the past. And I gotta say, I found this scene questionable. This is probably my
yeah.
least favorite scene of the episode.
Did this happen, and if so, when?
It takes away it almost seems like an outtake, like it should have been in the last
Yeah,
episode, and like why it takes away from the previous episode, because yeah, like there's no reason to believe there's nothing no indication in the scene that this is actually a further fantasy sequence of like after the
yeah. If they
crash.
had stayed together, then they would have just ended up having weird fights like this one.
Yeah, like why would he? It makes me think it's a real memory, and it should have just been in the earlier part of last, and like the
Mhm.
last episode ran long or something, and they just cut it. But like, it just seems out of place, and it also brings up the point to me, like, that it was like, and this is also a TV thing, but like Ben was so out of it in the last episode. He was like basically catatonic. He barely moved the entire episode last week. This week, he seems okay. He's walking around. He's pulling the moose out. He's having conversations. He's like, "What you gonna do? Eat me?" Like it's
Because
like
he ate that boar meat. It
he
gave him a new lease on life.
did,
Boar. He,
did he eat the boar meat? Because
bear meat.
I want to think Javi ate the boar meat. Did he actually eat
Bear
the boar meat?
meat.
I'm sorry, the beer
I
meat.
know.
The
No,
beer
I
meat.
started
The
bear
bear
meat.
meat.
Oh boy. Beer boar bear. Uh,
Maybe he did.
no,
Maybe
I
he did
don't.
eat the bear. If he ate the bear meat, that would be a good explanation for why he's like doing so much better than he was in the last episode when it seemed like he was on the verge of just like passing out and dying.
See Nat like sneaking him the bear meat.
Okay, 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 okay. If we learn that that's
You don't
true, if
know.
we learn that that's true, I'll believe it. But
I do think we're gonna find out who ate the bear meat, even if it was little Nibblesky the mouse.
oh, it was me.
You with me and 10,000 of my friends.
oh my god. Yeah, so even if there's an
If you're supposed to
explanation,
get through 10,000 mice, you would have like a little tiny baby blanket
that's adorable, and I
with
hope they
a
do
baby.
that. Yeah, so even if that's true, and I'll accept that if there's like a reasonable explanation for why he's so much better this week than last week, I still think this flashback's ill advised. It just like undercuts the previous
Yeah,
episode.
and it's not necessary. I mean, the point of it is that he didn't he didn't live his full life because the professional path he chose and the backwards attitudes about homosexuality and the time that he lived meant that he could not live this full life and have these. But he's also like, it also seems like he's annoyed. Why did you keep these pictures of your
Yeah,
exes?
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, what is the point of this scene?
Yeah, I don't understand this scene at all. It just seems like it was like would this one run short and you're just like we need to fill time like I
Yeah,
it just doesn't add up to me to put this in here. You cut this and you do the same. You can cut to him trying and failing to read. You can have a brief that's fine.
yeah,
But doing this flashback I don't know. Anyway, I think that's a worse scene of the episode. just gonna say
yeah.
it. Because like that stuff worked in the last episode. It was good.
It's just like continued resentment about the fact that he chose this path for these girls and now he's stuck with them in his final days. I think there's a better scene to do that. Like there's a better
Yeah,
way to do that.
yeah, I totally agree. I don't know. If they did a flashback to a different
And it's not their
context,
fault that he chose to be a high school soccer coach.
yeah, yeah, definitely not.
And it's certainly not their fault that society wouldn't accept him in that role
Yeah,
if they knew that he was gay.
definitely
So
not. Definitely
anyway.
not. That it will be their fault when they eat him though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so we go back to the present. Lisa and her mom talk while Natalie lurks. Lisa threatens to leave with the fish. I'm gonna leave with
But
the
it's not
fish.
like I don't have a box full of pictures of exes. All I have is a cabin full of people who are gonna eat me. All right, that scene. Anyway, sorry. You were saying?
Shall I?
Yes, please.
Okay, because we can continue.
No,
if
no,
you
no,
want.
no, no.
Okay. Lisa and her mom talk while Natalie lurks. Lisa threatens to leave with the fish. I'm gonna leave with the fish. That's what she said. Nat defends Lisa, but Lisa says, "You're not helping." And then Lisa's mom walks out, and then outside they get in the car, and we find out that Nat took the fish in her mouth and she spits it in a
Amazing. I love it. Nat,
That's probably the weirdest moment of the episode, strangely.
it's Nat showing us who she also can be.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
just the hard uh fork stabbing
right, right, right. Yeah, yeah, no, she's not without sympathy. I agree. Um then Misty goes to a booth at the farmer's market and asks about the honey. Of course, Lisa and Nat are not there for reasons that we have seen with our eyes. Like they should have been there. Like
They
that's
should have been
it's
there.
clear that like what should have happened is they were there and she just would have run into Natalie and Nat's like, hey, Misty. She wouldn't have said it
She
like
would have
that.
said it just
That
like
is
that.
not that
Like,
is not how
oh, it's always great to see you, Misty.
Hi, Misty. I don't know, something more like
What the
that.
fuck, Misty?
uh, um, right at the booth, right. So she asks about the honey, and she gets a vague idea. She gets a very vague description of the location.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
like
you're never gonna
it's
find
like,
it with
oh
this
yeah, they're
description.
like somewhere on a highway something something, and she's like, so then Missy's like ready to go. She's like, all right,
Yeah.
let's go. I don't even know where we're going, but let's go.
Yeah, and I
Anyway,
expected Walter to be like, "Go where?" That was
yeah,
so big, but
he
instead it's
doesn't
like,
say that.
"No, it's almost sunset." I
Yeah,
was like, "Okay,
that was the problem. He also agreed that they knew where to go, but like it was just too late.
yeah,
Anyway, no, that's so he thinks they should wait till tomorrow and go to a B&B now, and Misty agrees, and we will return to that later, of course. Um, Back at the cabin, Nat storms in and says she found a moose frozen in the lake. Everyone but Mari and Aquila are on board with getting the moose, regardless of the rules of the game. Fuck it, we just want to eat. That was just a
yeah,
thing to try to get something to eat, and that's the point here,
right."
right? Right, everybody? Anyway, most of them agree with that, but it does seem like Mari and Aquila are true believers, the truest believers, and that's why they're going to survive to the end, right? Anyway,
Uh,
after everyone else, yeah, they're the boons. After everyone else leaves, Aquila says she hopes Lottie is okay, and Mari says, "Of course she is."
boy.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I feel like you're trying to convince yourself. Anyway, um, then we go to Lottie trekking through the woods, and she comes upon the plane snowed over. And she opens it and sees Laura Lee's bear, who was named Leonard. I forgot that. Inside, and the cross necklace is in there, and there's a hatch inside the plane. There's literally a hatch that she
Yeah,
crawls into and goes down, and she goes into a white void, and then there's some elevator doors that open and close, and then she's in a mall.
yeah.
this this is a
Poor
weird
mall.
fantasy sequence.
Yeah,
Anyway, she's in the mall. The rest of the Yellowjackets are eating at a table. Laura Lee's there as well. Lottie sits
at the head
down.
of the table.
Yeah, at the head of the table. Lottie sits down, and it's actually, now that when I watch it again, I realize like this is kind of similar to the Jackie scene where she dies, freezing to death. Like she also has a vision of all of them, you know.
Hmm.
And Laura Lee's there as well.
Yeah,
She also sees Cabin Guy, who's not here in this case, but
right.
it still had a similar vibe. Anyway, Lottie sits down, tries to eat. Laura Lee wants her to say something, but then wants to get her out of there, or else she'll die from the cold. So she pushes Lottie, and then we see her back in reality fall into the snow in the woods. So we come out of the fantasy sequence that certainly got her a lot of food, whatever that was. I don't know. She's just delirious from like being in the cold and bleeding and
Yeah,
almost freezing to death. That's all I can. That's all I can get from this. Um, and then we go over to the lake, and they try to chop the ice to remove the moose. They tie rope around the antlers and pull as hard as they can, but it isn't enough, and the moose sinks into the lake as Nat partially plunges her head into the cold water, um, partially pulled in, and they have to pull her out, and we'll come back to that shortly.
yeah.
So yeah, the moose operation was doomed. I think that was yeah, it was very unlikely. I mean, they needed like
They
heavy
needed
duty
chains,
shit. Yeah,
and
chains and an army of the dead,
yeah, they needed chains and a vehicle to get that.
or a vehicle.
Yeah,
Fine, fine.
with like treads,
A rhinoceros.
rhinoceros. Yeah, that was never gonna work, but
Summon a rhinoceros, Lottie. She's not there. Doesn't help.
No, unfortunately, and that is why they don't get the moose. And
That's why
that's
they don't get
exactly
the
what
moose.
Mari's gonna say.
Yeah, you're right.
This didn't work because you didn't get your blessing.
You're right.
Um, it's nothing to do with gravity.
No, never.
Yeah. Okay, so this food court scene, did you want to talk about that?
I don't really have much to say about it because it just feels to me like it's a death dream. Like she's on the verge
Yeah.
of death. And like I said, it just reminds me of the Jackie thing from season one. And it doesn't really seem like it's doing anything to get her food. It doesn't seem really like it's trying to tell her anything except like her subconscious mind saying like, wake up, you're dying.
Right, right. Like it's supposed to be like, but there's a part of her body that wants to just give up
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
stay there and eat the food in the
Yeah,
food court.
just let
I mean,
go.
there's coats on, go
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this shoplifting reference,
The wishful, just like Jackie going inside where
yeah,
it's warm,
yeah,
it's a very similar thing. It's more
yeah,
fanciful, but I feel like fundamentally it's the same kind of scene.
yeah. Um,
So yeah, that's why I don't have like a ton to say about it because it seems pretty on the
yeah,
level.
yeah,
Whereas like some of the visions are like real weird, and it seems like they're saying something else.
yeah. But
You
so
know,
Laura Lee saves her.
yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, she had this thing with Laura Lee, and it does seem like Laura Lee had to die because if she had lived, she wouldn't have let Lottie go down the path that she's seemingly gonna go down. You know,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's like she's still haunted by her, or she's really from the afterlife helping, but I'm more inclined to believe that this is just going on in Lottie's head because it just seems so on the level about like you need to wake up and like you try to survive.
yeah,
You know, that's how it feels. But obviously, I can't prove it one way or the other.
yeah.
But Laura Lee's in there, right? I mean, we saw actually, 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 it just hit me. It just hit me. In that scene where she goes to see her therapist, she says, "Okay, well, I guess Travis didn't die that long ago, but I just realized like the B scene was not her first vision. She had a vision when she was there when Travis died. We saw her see Laura
Oh yeah,
Lee.
yeah. Well, I think that she says recently. It doesn't have to mean that the bee thing was
No, you're right. I had forgotten. Like, oh no, they showed she had another vision, and that. I mean, like I said, I don't. I think in timeline on the show, like that probably wasn't more than a couple weeks ago at the most.
Yeah,
Like it actually, not that much time has passed on the show.
yeah,
In the present,
yeah,
like it's really only a few days in season one,
yeah,
and then season two, I think it's only been a few days. So I think it doesn't
yeah.
have to. So it still works because Travis is alive at the beginning of the series.
Hmm.
Adult Travis is
Yeah.
alive. Natalie talks to him on the phone briefly. So at some point in there he dies, and she has what that maybe that was her first vision. I don't know. Anyway, I thought of it because she sees Laura Lee in that scene.
Yeah.
So it's clear that like that's a vision she's haunted by, which makes sense for various reasons, but. Anyway, that just kind of hit me that whole thing. Okay, so you want to
Yeah, let's go.
keep that train a rolling?
Yeah.
So in the present, Nat and Lisa sit in a bar and they discuss the fish and suicide. And it they have this thing where like Natalie almost takes a shot, but then like pushes it aside, and it seems like it's sort of symbolic of you know rejecting, like they're talking about suicide, and she tried to kill herself, and
Hmm.
that's when she was kidnapped basically, and so anyway, it seems like it's communicating that she's not currently suicidal.
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
I thought that was my big takeaway, at least from
Yeah.
this scene. um like
She has a purpose now, and it's to unearth what the fuck Lottie's doing.
maybe Lottie's cult works. I'm just saying seems to have been a good influence.
I mean, I think community works, relationships among people work.
Lottie's community works.
Lottie's community works.
Do any other communities work? I'm ambivalent, but I'm just saying. Anyway, okay. Then Walter and Misty check in for 2 rooms at the B&B. They go upstairs and we get a montage of the two of them checking out similar things in their
Yeah.
respective rooms, making sure there's no like spying going on. Like they're checking their phones and they put the remote control in a bag and it's and yeah,
Yeah,
anyway.
why did they put the remote control in a
I
bag?
didn't understand that either. I actually was gonna ask you if you knew why they did that.
I don't.
It's weird. I don't really
Yeah.
understand it.
That split screen montage
Like they don't
is
want to
really
leave
funny.
fingerprints on it. I don't know. I that's my best
Oh,
guess.
okay.
But I don't know why they would care about that and not something else that they might touch. But anyway, that's the only reason I can think why they would
Yeah.
put a remote control in a bag.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Maybe I'll Google that later. Yeah, I thought this was super funny.
yeah, it's an amusing sequence, definitely. It really reminded me of a like a comedy version of the end of the conversation where he rips his apartment apart trying to find the listening device that they're using. You know, like tears the walls out,
Yeah,
rips up the floorboards, like
yeah,
this is like the light casual version of that,
yeah.
like they're clearly both like because of what they do on the boards, like they know the ways that people can be spied upon and the ways that
Who do you think
information
is
can be
spying on
gathered.
the other person?
I feel like they shouldn't, yeah, I mean that must be the only thing. Like unless they just do it by habit. But yeah, the other person seems like the most likely. But then how would they even get into the room
Because they're
before
using different names as well.
and they just checked in? Yeah, I feel like it must just be a general thing that they do to make sure no one is spying on them, because they're paranoid because of what they do. That's my best guess, but I don't know. They don't really talk about it, so I can't say for sure. And then they go to bed. Hey, so da 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 da. And then we go over to Jeff, who apologizes to Shauna for being judgy, which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really kind of judgy about. Anyway, and he admits that he's not entirely over Shauna having an affair. Shauna accepts and tells Jeff that she told Callie about Adam's murder. Jeff is shocked, and he mentions here's where he mentions that they only have one kid. So this is the line I was talking about earlier, where
Yeah.
like they finally checked that box because there was that cut line from the pilot where they said that Callie had an older sister, which I feel like they probably at that time considered that being the baby from the woods. It seems to me like that could have been a possibility, and early on, clearly before the pilot episode aired, decided no, let's not do that. Let's not. We don't need to have them have a baby the whole. I just feel like that's the thought process that gets you there. But this makes it clear like Jeff doesn't think they have any other kids, so that baby can't make it. I mean, I feel like that seals the fate of the baby, like this line right here.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Because if they say some shit later, I'm gonna come back to this anyway. Then Callie comes in and offers to help chop something. Callie admits that she's been going to the park with a friend and drinking, but she won't do it anymore. And then she chops the cucumbers because she's a good daughter now.
All she needed was the truth about the murder.
That's it. Just admit your murder, Mom, and then I'll be nice. God. What do you have to do?
Adolescent psychology is not that hard.
It's easy. Come on, parents, get it together. Just admit
together.
your murders and your home life will improve instantly.
Magic.
You can get all the cucumbers chopped that you need. Left-handed, too.
So many cucumbers. You can get so.
You know what I thought, though, about that? I don't know for sure that they did this, but it's possible that they mirrored the shot. Sometimes they do that. Like if
some people are left-handed.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't see anything else in the scene. Usually other stuff in the scene is a giveaway for that. Like sometimes the framing makes them invert the shot in editing.
Well, yeah. So
it's possible that that's what they did.
They just thought it looked better the way they shot it to have her chop. Yeah, it stood out to me watching it that she was chopping with her left hand.
Yeah.
Some people do that.
I'm just bringing up, like, maybe it wasn't her left hand.
Maybe.
But
maybe it wasn't her left hand.
What a
mystery.
Just a theory. We'll see. Look, I want to look later when Callie does stuff. See what hand she favors. Okay. all you viewers,
I think we'll all be watching.
please zoom in and enhance and write us, send us images.
You're really alienating your Southpaw listeners right now.
Jacketjockeys at gmail.com, at jacketjockeys on Twitter. Let us know, which hand does Callie use? You tell me. You tell us. We'll report it back to you next week. Okay. So anyway, all right, ready? Okay. Back to the cabin. Natalie sits in a warm bath and recovers from the freezing water. Akila and Mari come in supporting Lottie. I mean, they're literally like carrying her in. Not just like we support Lottie. Anyway,
they are wearing buttons that say we support Lottie.
They are doing that. That's true. They found her where the plane used to be. That's what they say. So it really was the place where the plane was, even though like the plane clearly wasn't there. Anyway, she's also freezing. So Nat offers the tub and they help her get in. Akila wants to let them have a minute alone. Nat apologizes. Lottie says, "Good game, you fucking loser." And they have a laugh about how they both got nothing. So things end well.
Yeah, you both almost died.
Also, it ends well.
Well done. What a great idea this was. What a not wasted.
Yeah, it's a little reconciliation. You know, they don't usually get moments like this on the show, so it was kind of surprising that they're both like, "Hey, yeah, we both failed, yay."
Yeah. Cut to them in the present day. Good game, you fucking loser.
Okay, so back to the present. Lottie thumbs through some cards with affirmations on them, and then she sees a Queen of Hearts with the eyes scratched out. She closes her eyes and it's gone, but then she thumbs through and it appears again. And then she goes outside and we see her walking with the knife down some stairs. And she gets on her knees in front of a similar tree stump, similar to the one from the past, is what I mean, and cuts her hand and bleeds on it and says, "Can this just be enough, please?"
Yeah. That happens.
Queen of Hearts with the eyes scratched out? What the fuck is that? I mean, aside from like Antler Queen, the Queen Bee thing, Queen. Like, it's weird because, like, what is
Eyeless Guy?
Eyeless Guy, yeah. Is it connected with Eyeless Guy? I don't know. It's weird because this isn't an image they've really used before. Like specifically, I mean the car.
I mean, Eyeless Guy and Thaisa.
You think that's what this Eyeless Guy reference?
Yes, absolutely.
But it's not Eyeless Queen of Hearts.
Maybe not yet. There is a connection between the Eyeless Guy and the bad one. And even though we don't understand what it is.
Yeah.
And
that's
there's this burgeoning conflict between Thaisa and Lottie on the island in terms of their on the island in the woods in terms of their powers and yeah.
So like my takeaway from this is that so she says, "Can this just be enough, please?" Like what that sounds to me like is that when they're in the woods, she was doing, I feel like the implication is she was doing the sacrifices and the killing and stuff as a way to appease her visions. Like she felt like she had to, that it seems like it's implying that she felt like she had to do that to like quiet the visions or something, and she's trying to get away with just cutting her hand and saying, "If I il veut du sang, if you can, I just give you my blood. Do I, don't make me give you the blood of others like I had to before, Right. It seems like that's what it's implying. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that it wouldn't surprise me if she is gonna sacrifice Lisa.
Oh no.
No,
her best acolyte
her
again.
Best acolyte.
Her new Mari.
Her new Mari. I think my interpretation was similar. I think my interpretation, yours is probably fits a little better with what she says in the therapist's office. But maybe the visions are getting to her and she, I don't know. I mean, it does, it's clearly mirroring that scene with the stump when it doesn't work in
Right.
this episode.
Right. And like maybe
And
that's why she's driven to do more. Like
yeah,
it wasn't enough
it
that
wasn't
it cut my
enough.
hands.
Yeah, that time it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
You know, when Shauna's accidental nose, presumably accidental
Yeah.
nosebleed, bleeds onto the symbol, that brings us some birds. But then when I give you some of my own blood, you give me
Nothing
nothing.
happens. Yeah.
So what's it gonna take?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Coach, mouse.
Yeah.
Oh, poor baby
Do you
mouse.
really need that other leg, coach? It's not doing you much good. It looks pretty meaty.
Looks pretty meaty. Gonna sacrifice. No, but yeah, I don't know. Oh.
It's building up all that extra muscle to compensate.
Ugh.
Delicious and stringy.
Blech, blech.
They probably
Yeah.
won't do that, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I do think that she's gonna alienate the girl. It's Aquila with the mouse.
Yeah.
She's gonna. Somebody's gonna find out about Aquila's mouse, and she's gonna sacrifice it to the wood god, and that's gonna cause.
It wants the blood of a mouse freely given.
It's the blood of an innocent creature, an innocent
I
like
can just imagine like holding up
slitting
the
a mouse
mouse.
throat. Oh,
It's so sad.
it's so
Yet
sad.
so adorable.
Um, yeah.
No, don't sacrifice me. I want to live. I have so much to do with my life.
Oh,
I just found a pocket.
yeah. The perfect home.
I think you might be right. And I don't think Aquila's long for this world, so something's gonna have to happen
First the
where
mouse, then Aquila.
yeah. Now, I'll tell you another path that I could see happening for at least one of them is maybe one of them actually agrees to be sacrificed. Maybe one of them decides I will give myself up, for the group and, for Lottie or something, like maybe someone will
And
actually
that's the
agree.
origin of the chase.
Maybe,
And the
yeah, that's
pivot.
what I'm saying. Like maybe there's
Yeah.
some path where it's like it's easier because they're agreeing to it at first.
Yeah, it's sort of like a lottery thing.
Yeah. Or maybe Pit Girl even agreed, but still was running for her life out of pure instincts. Maybe she did say, like, okay, or it's like Hunger
Or yeah,
Games.
I'm thinking it's like a Hunger Games thing where yeah, you know, the well, a little bit, but like here are her followers, they understand, but the element of chance is introduced by okay, well, whichever one of you gets caught.
Yeah. All of you have to run and
That way it feels
yeah.
less like
Whoever
murder
falls
than
into the
on
trap, which no one knows where it is somehow. Anyway, I don't know. We'll come back to that later, but
yeah.
yeah, like I don't know. There's various
Maybe they're
possible paths.
blindfolded.
Ah, okay. I don't think I don't think Pit Girl's blindfolded.
Do we see her head?
I think you see her head, you just don't see her face. I could be wrong. I'd have to look at the show
If
again.
we see her head, we ought to be able to figure out who she is at this point.
Well, I think she's got a lot of hair, and so I think it kind of obscures her face, and they only
Well,
show it from
we can see
kind of
the hair. We
afar.
can use the hair to identify
Well, I agree. That's why most people think it's Mari, because the hair mostly.
her. I see it.
It's got to be dark hair, like that. You can definitely tell that. I don't think she's blindfolded. I don't know. I have to look at it again. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought you could
Yeah,
tell that she's
no,
not
I mean,
blindfolded.
I don't really believe that. They can tell us whatever they want.
They can retcon. No, she totally had a blindfold the whole time, just like,
If
oh yeah,
or they're blindfolded, we blindfold them and take them to a different spot in the woods and let them go.
yeah. They could say that, just like Lottie was like, I have a message for you, and she didn't say anything else after that
Uh,
till the next day. Anyway, all right, are you ready?
yes.
Okay. We go back to the cabin. Van and Ty failed to find the tree where the map predicted. I just want to note that there was no symbol there. They looked and looked and didn't find one. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
noted for the record. Van notices the spot where the snow is melted, and Ty looks around and finds someone lurking. They chase and catch up to him. Holy shit! It's Javi. Just as we all thought, fucking Javi's still alive. And it has
An added stump.
something to do with the melted area, although it's still ambiguous what that means. I don't understand, but
Yeah.
they have to have an explanation for how we survived in the cold. So it feels like it should connect to that, but it's like, why? Why is the snow melting there? How did you survive? Say something.
Geothermal spring.
This is lost too, by the way. This whole thing of like someone goes missing, they find him in the woods, but they don't say anything.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just like the perfect lost version is he just collapses, you know, and they end the episode right there. But they wanted to have the final moment where he actually comes back, so that's why we get another scene.
Yeah.
But he still doesn't say a word this whole episode.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to wait until later to get the follow up on that.
Yeah. How many episodes before he talks?
I hope it's next episode, but you know.
He looks a little feral to me.
He looked really feral and old too. But anyway, okay. Back to the we're really close here. Back to the present. Nat smokes and watches Lisa with the fish. She looks at the keys and then at Lottie's cabin. And that's where we end things with Natalie in this episode. So I think she's going in there.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll see next week and we'll see what she finds there when she does. Because you know, Lottie's out of the cabin right now doing her little blood offering.
Yep.
Okay. So back to the cabin, Van and Ty arrive with Javi. The others are shocked. Travis greets him. Javi doesn't say anything, even to Travis. Mari says, "This means Lottie was right." And Van says, "Lottie knew he was alive, but Thaisa knew where he was." Ty tries to deny it, but Van thinks there's something deep inside you that is connected to all of this. That's what she says.
Yeah.
Now, you know, look, I don't want to get into epistemology, but Ty did not know where Javi was. Ty was leading you to symbols.
Yeah, the symbols pointed you to where.
And
actually, Van, you're the one who made the map. You're the one who developed the hypothesis, and you're the one who tested it.
And it's not like Ty was like, "We're gonna go find Javi there," or the bad one was like, "We're gonna go find Javi there." The bad one was only leading them to symbols. So it's just weird to say Ty knew he was there. Like, I disagree. I don't even think the bad one knew he was there. I honestly think it was a coincidence that he was there, but because I just feel like those symbols have been there for a long time. You know, maybe cabin guy
pointing to the stump, and he was hanging on to the stump because for some reason it's warm.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. I was gonna come up with a theory that cabin guy just didn't finish. You know, he died before he got the chance to put the symbol in that area, like he was planning to, but he just didn't do it. And he died before it happened, and that's it. I mean, you know.
So my question is, will it be a bigger or smaller payoff than the Blastador map?
You know, that payoff was pretty small, so I'm gonna say equal.
Okay, all right.
That's what I'm calling. Because the only thing they got out of the Store map was they went to the Pearl Station. And in this case, they got Javi. So I think that's enough.
Yeah.
To be equal, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, no, getting Javi's pretty big.
It's not nothing. It's not nothing. But I'm just, yeah, I think your theory is actually a good one too. That somehow, because the stumps are like part of, you know, at least Lottie thinks the stumps are part of the ritual weirdness. Maybe cabin guy also believed the stumps are part of the ritual weirdness, and that's why he, you know, thought of that as being part of the pattern, and so that was supposed to complete the thing, you know. And he just didn't put a symbol there because, like, Lottie didn't. There's no symbol on the stump, you know, so you don't have to have a symbol there just because it's a thing. But it, you know, it does stand out as an aberration since, you know, the bad one was leading only to symbols. The battle didn't lead her there either. It was the map that implied it should be there. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the scene, and it's hard to untangle it. And I just think Van's jumping to a conclusion here, which is clearly part of the point. But
right.
You know, but it's also setting up the thing we talked about earlier, which is the idea that bad one Ty is going to be some kind of rival for the spiritual leadership of the group, and possibly more vicious than Lottie is. From what we've seen so far of what Badwin Thaisa does, it does seem to me like she's more dangerous than Lottie.
Yeah.
I mean, that Lottie seems like basically she's a decent person. She's just like troubled by all these visions that she has, and maybe it pushes her to do weird things. But
Yeah.
like, I don't get the sense that she would, knowingly go cut off a dog's head,
Yeah.
you know, um, to win an election, which it seems like the bad one did. So I don't know. Um, it's a dynamic I didn't, even though I thought that the bad one was doing the cannibalism, it never occurred to me that the bad one would actually be a leader in that context,
Yeah.
and I think it's an interesting addition to that dynamic that I'm anxiously awaiting development on as we go forward in the past timeline,
Yeah.
as well as in the future timeline. Since she's going to Van. Van was connected to Lottie. Does Van know about Lottie's cult? Like, did she drop Lottie at some point? Her statement implies that she's maybe turning away from Lottie and throwing her allegiance with the bad one, Thaisa. She's sort of saying like, yeah, Lottie knew this one thing, but what Ty knew was better. Ty knew where he was. So I'm wondering if like that's going to be the start of her actually switching her allegiance, and maybe that's a clue about why she's not at Lottie's camp, which is kind of what I thought. Like when she was in the credits, I thought she would be at the camp, and I thought it was just a weird contrivance that she hadn't showed up there yet. But now it seems like no, she's not at the camp. She's working in a video store.
Yeah.
As we're about to get to. All right, you ready for the last scene?
I am.
Okay. Semi-chocolate Ty arrives at some sort of video store. She gets out. No goodbyes. That whole thing was a waste of time, but maybe that's the second worst plot line this episode after that brief flashback.
It's gonna come back up because it means that somebody knows that Thaisa was dropped off at that video store.
Okay. Okay.
Like that could be important.
Okay. Fair enough. I'll withhold judgment. I'll withhold judgment. Okay. Right at some sort of video store called While You Were Streaming. She goes inside and finds a certain red-haired, scarred-faced someone working behind the counter. And I think it's actually Van, believe it or not.
I think it's
played by television's Lauren Ambrose. No one predicted it.
No one saw it coming.
The worst kept secret in television history.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something else that was like worse than this. I feel like I remember something like this in the past, but I can't remember what it was. Where like a casting was announced and everybody knew who it was instantly.
Yeah.
I feel like this has happened before.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm definitely not going to think of it. Yeah, so here we have it, the reunion.
Yeah, she recognizes Ty right away, and that's setting the stage for whatever the fuck. This is what the bad one wanted her to do, right? Go to her, right? Surely that's what
that was certainly her
the eye thing, right?
That was your interpretation.
That's where she went.
Yeah.
So just saying, and it's implied the bad one did most of the work, right? Like got her there, but forgot to fill it up.
Yeah.
And made her do the annoying part, which is the walking and the hitchhiking.
Yeah. I bet the bad one's not very good at small talk with strangers.
Yeah.
Which would be a requirement of hitchhiking, I think.
That's a fair point. Yeah, she might just like bite their ear off or something.
Who knows? Yeah, so
you gonna eat that dirt?
Eat that dirt. I noticed you've got some dirt in your floorboards.
Yeah, I mean, you gonna eat that?
Yeah, so this was a ostensibly big moment, undercut massively by the fact that everyone saw it coming.
Yeah. Sometimes this happens in TV that the fans are just too far ahead.
Yeah, but they freaking put her in the opening credits. It cuts in the same way that it cuts from teenage Nat to grown-up Nat.
Yeah.
And
I didn't actually recognize, in the title sequence, I didn't even realize that was Lauren Ambrose. I was like, who is this random person? I really have no idea who that was. it's a really close up shot of her face. I just didn't recognize
I
her.
recognized her immediately.
Well, good for you. You're right, but I'm just saying, like, that's why I didn't make the. I mean, I thought Lauren Ambrose would be Van because it's obvious, but
Right.
like, I didn't catch it from the. But yeah, no, they're clearly not trying to hide it. It was promoted that she was in the show. They didn't seem like they cared to hide it, you know?
No, and that's fine. I think it's better to not try to hide something because, as you're saying, fans are going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I just think that sometimes shows feel a little off on the emotional punch of scenes, especially closing scenes like this one. Like, I just didn't think this was a good scene to end on.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been better if we didn't expect it at all, you
But they
know?
knew that we would be expecting it.
Yeah, they clearly did.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone kind of expected Javi to be alive as well, but I kind of think the Javi scene might have been better to end on, even though they're both a little perfunctory. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Sometimes there's not a punchy enough thing, you know? I don't know. I feel like the punchy thing could have been Natalie going into Lottie's place and finding something, but maybe whatever they want to do with that didn't really work for the end of an episode. So
yeah,
we'll
I
see.
mean, it could have been her putting the key in the lock. I mean, it depends on how long it's going to be before she goes into the cabin.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But anyway, I thought all in all, good episode, not as good as the last episode.
Yeah, last week was probably one of my favorites of the whole show.
But it can't all
So
be like that.
yeah, no, I know, right? Yeah, like at a certain point it's like there's a ceiling here, you know. So yeah, but I this wasn't a bad
No, not
episode.
at all. And we're building new storylines, new mysteries. This whole thing with Thaisa and Lottie is building up to something that I'm sure will be great.
Yeah, 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 definitely. I'm very curious where that's gonna go, and I'm also curious where the Van and Thais thing is gonna go. Like, I'm more interested in that than just seeing the moment where they reunite. Like, I want to see the next scene,
Yeah,
which is why they ended there, I think. But it's
yeah,
like it's just like, but I already knew that was coming, so it's like I want you to give me more, you know. I don't know.
yeah,
It makes me wish they could have pushed it a little more and given us something to think about,
yeah. Exactly. Give us one
you
line
know.
from that
Yeah.
exchange that gives us something to think about.
Yeah, see, I think that's where I think that's like Lost when it was at its best. I think it excelled at that of giving you a moment that's shocking, but then not letting that be enough, taking it that one step further, right? Because you could go with, this is my classic line. Anyone who's heard Lost Letter has heard me say this about 18 times, so I apologize. And you probably heard me say this 18 times, so I apologize to everyone, but I'm gonna say it again because I feel like it illustrates the point. They could have just gone with Jack and Kate meet and they're in the future off the island. And it's like, holy shit, they got off the island. Oh my God. What a reveal, right? That's pretty awesome. Like, that's good. Most shows would be happy to end it there.
Yeah,
But Lost doesn't end it there. They say, no, Kate, we have to go back. That's the next
yeah,
step, you know? And
yeah,
like that's an extra layer to put on top of that idea that it's
yeah,
not enough that they already got. No, we also, there's a next step here. We have to go back. We're not just going to sit on the fact that this one shocking thing happened. There's already a suggestion of a next step. And that's what I wish they had done here.
yeah,
You know, I wish there had been some kind of more interesting twist than just, hey, Thaisa, you know?
yeah,
Like that's just, you can do that at the beginning of an episode if you're going to do more, but it's not punchy enough for an ending.
yeah,
So
yeah. I agree.
anyway,
I agree.
I'm looking forward to it next week. Like I said, there were a lot of good scenes in this episode, and it was a good episode. It just, yeah, there's the Coachman flashback is bad, and uh, I'm not so sure about the hitchhiking plot, but I'll withhold judgment on that. Uh, pending whatever happens with that plot line. It felt like a waste of time in this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
But you know, they do something with it later. I'll change my tune, as they say. So I think that about wraps it up for this week. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. This one's gonna be on time. So yeah, we'll be back next week with next week's episode, whatever that's called. I haven't looked it up. But you know, until next time,
Buzz,
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 buzz, buzz.